one shot. Spin that dial, feel the floor, get hot. Late night waves through the static of your phone. Say my name like you're bringing me home.
Turn it up just a little bit higher. Vocal cuts, riding on the wire. Air in my lungs, but the beat takes over. We're hanging on the edge of the drop of the moment.
ColeyUFO, SNX, let it blow from the ground to the glow.
We go, we go.
ColeyUFO, say the name, let them know. Every crowd, every show.
We go, we go.
You say Coley,
I say UFO. Crowd Coley, UFO. You say SNX. I say radio. Crowd SNX.
radio. Kick back, rewind, we collide on the beat. Old school snap with the sweat and the heat. Skate shoes, snapbacks, hands on the air raid. Rock rich cut through the smoke and the strobe haze.
So turn it up, feel it claw through the ceiling. Our vocal chops like the pulse of your feelings. Air in my lungs, but the bass takes over. We're hanging on the edge of the drop of the moment.
ColeyUFO, SNX, let it blow from the ground to the glow.
We go, we go.
ColeyUFO, say the name, let them know. Every crowd, every show.
We go, we go.
You say Coley, I say UFO. Crowd Coley, UFO. You say SNX, I say radio. Crowd SNX, radio. Hands to the left, hands to the right. Wait for the show that's light in the night. From the first kick drum to the last echo. We're the spark, we're the raw, we're the name they know.
We go, we go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SNX Radio. I'm Coley, also known as ColeyUFO, and it's thank you so much, Moon, starting off the super. Wow, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much, T-Bone. Absolutely appreciate it. Amy, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And Moon at Noon, thank you. That is so awesome. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Thank you, everyone. I mean, that was a really cool treat. Thank you. I just wanted to say, first off, welcome everybody back. We've got one of our chat members with us. I'm sure you saw it if you've been in the chat, but it's really a lot of fun to have people who, then we get to know you and like face to face. So it's definitely cool. It's a cool experience. But I just want to start off really quick and go through chat. Pops, always thank you for all you do. If you don't know, Pops has the cryptid panel on the second Monday and the fourth Monday of the month, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You do not want to miss it. Bigfoot fans is Cindy Bailey. She's also on the panel, and Lori Flamethrower. I don't know where Lori is. I'm sure Lori's in here too, but I just haven't gotten down that far. So, Andrew, it's great to see you as always. Keith's Cryptid Corner. Oh, Keith, you got it up and going. Cheers. Cheers from Iowa. And JT Truth Seeker is our guest for tonight. Geez. Moon at Noon. No, thank you. And again, thank you so much for the super chat. T-Bone, same to you. Thank you so much for the super chat. That was amazing. Amy, you guys are all, Amy, we absolutely love you to death over here too, Amy. Great to have you. And the Midwest Night Watchers, that's G over there. If you have not gone over and subscribed, definitely do so. They've got a great channel over there. I can't say enough great things about them. They always have, they have live cams going too, so you can check those out. They have a lot of cool stuff going on over there. Let's see here. Yeah, it's so nice to see everybody. Oh, Laura, it's nice to see you. Welcome. And thank you for always going in and leaving comments after. I really appreciate those. I really do. Thank you for that. It helps. It really does. So anything like it's just amazing that everybody here. I'm like, I just absolutely love chat. Let's see here. Just go through T-Bone. Yes. And man, I love Amanda's Crazy Life channel. Definitely go over and check out Amanda. She's got some great stuff over there too. It's great to see you, Amanda. And let me see here. Benno. Hey, Benno. I know I saw Benno. I swear I saw Benno. And then we got TKB. Hey, Pops is looking for you. I don't know if he got a hold of you yet, but I'm sure he did. You're in chat. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know. Just passing it along. And Karma, great. Welcome. And let me see. I know I saw more down here. Oh, goodness. I don't want to miss anybody. I'm like going scrolling here. I'm getting ahead of myself now. I hope everybody's having a great night. John Allen, it's great to see you. John, John, you should really think about doing a disclosure desk. May 777 Abel, Paul, Shishi, my birthday twin. You guys don't know Paul. Paul's like a wizard with numbers. He definitely is. Matthew, great to see you back. Welcome. I don't want to go past anybody. Like, that would be the worst for me. I don't want to leave anybody out. So I'm just gonna go through here and check. And if I did, like for whatever reason, just know I will make it up to you. So I just want to make sure. Mine just went. Oh, Jason Finch. Oh, Jason, you always put a smile on everybody's face. Thank you for coming in and always saying hello, Macy. It's great to see you, Catherine. See, my Facebook was not even, or my Facebook StreamYard was not even catching up. Shelly Montgomery. It's great to see you. We got cats. I know I got. Oh goodness, I lost myself here. I think I said hello to Catherine. Let's see if I missed anybody. Yeah, if I missed you, I promise I will go back through and I will find you. But yeah, welcome everybody. And we're going to just get right on into it. So who do we have for guest tonight? If you don't know, you didn't hear, it's JT Truth Seeker, and that's James Andrews. He's based out of US and Canada, known online and alternative research circles as JT Truth Seeker. I actually met him when I was over on Spaced Out Radio After Hours. So I've known him for quite a while. It's very cool. He is an independent researcher, experiencer, and communicator with decades of reported direct contact with extraterrestrial beings, Sasquatch also. And so sorry, I see what you're talking about, Andrew. So he's not just based in the United States, he's based in the United States and Canada. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. And let's see, he positioned himself as a bridge between human consciousness and non-human intelligence, sharing insight gained through personal interactions, remote viewing, oh, very cool, and interdimensional experiences. He presents these practical knowledge for navigating areas of disclosure, transformation. He stresses preparation, discernment, especially regarding unfriendly ETs or deceptive channeling. That's very important. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring Andrew out here, otherwise known as JT Truth Seeker. Let's see here. And James, why did I just call you Andrew? Did I call you? Jeez Louise. Did I call you by the wrong name?
No,
I'm sorry. We welcome. Yeah, I see where you were talking about. I missed that little blurb in there, but I'll go ahead and take care of it. For people who don't know who you are, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh, gee, where do I even begin?
Right?
So I actually live on the west coast of Canada, not too far from Dave Scott. Dave Scott lives in the interior, like up in the Fraser Valley up north. I actually am in the Fraser Valley too, but on the what would be
Oh, I
known
didn't
as
know
the
you were
Lower
that
Mainland.
close to him.
Oh yeah, about 5 hours away, right? And so for those who are going to CaribouCon, I'm hoping to meet people there, providing I can get a ride up there. I still have yet to find that.
Where's that going to be held at?
What's that?
Where's that going to be held at, James?
So that was with David Scott's thing. I actually suggested to Dave Scott to host a big CaribouCon event up there, and he actually decided to do it about a year later. And
Oh wow.
here we
So
go,
does he
right?
still do the Reno and or Vegas one?
No, I never went down to the Vegas one. It would be too expensive for me, especially coming from Canada.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I
you
didn't know
know,
if he was going to do those. That's when I was there.
yeah,
The first one was in Vegas and the second one was in Reno.
yeah. Unfortunately, I never made it to those, but I think that's why he canceled out this year. It's because it's for us Canadians because of our currency downgrade. It's just too expensive at this time right now.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it's crazy for everybody.
yeah. So where to even begin?
So you're well, you know, I've followed a lot and I really appreciate everything that you contribute
Yeah,
in chat. You've had quite a few
absolutely.
experiences with ET, Bigfoot. Do you want to start off, I guess, going back
Yeah,
in
definitely.
paranormal?
To go back into my actual history of it,
Mhm. Where did it all
like when
begin
I
for
first
you?
got in contact with them, right?
Hmm.
So I first actually they contacted me back when I was 14. It would have been 13 if certain circumstances had have happened, but that's a long story in itself. But so I was contacted by a benefactor back at age 14, actually just after I was, and so she visited with me for a day, and it was interesting because I never actually spoke to her physically, like she was physically there in person. She actually came to my school that day and sat behind me, and it's like nobody seemed to really question it. It was like, and I was wondering what's she doing there. I didn't even know what she was really all about. And then I experienced some telepathy with her. I didn't even know at the time what that was even all about because it was all so strange to me and all that. To make a long story short, and so I only saw her for the one day. I thought she was going to be there longer at the time. And after that had happened in the following days, it's like my classmates and the teacher no longer had any memory of her even being there,
Oh wow.
which is really weird. But the only time I really heard her spoke is that when my music teacher asked where she was from, and she said Kamloops, and that's the only time I heard her speak physically. So they can speak English and that just like us, but they're also like very telepathic. And so I wondered about that for years, and I just kind of kept quiet about it. But meanwhile, when she was visiting, this friend of mine gives me this book, and this friend of mine sitting across from me in class. And the name of the book is actually called UFO Encounters, and I still have it,
Oh wow.
like the very book that he gave me. And so then after that, I've always had an interest in UFOs since I was a kid, probably for as long as I can remember. There's a movie that came on TV back in the 1970s. It was called a black and white movie. If it was called UFO, yeah, it was called UFO. I'm just trying. I don't know. The name of it just slipped my mind now. Oh yeah, it was a true story of flying saucers or something like that. UFO, a true story. So that was really intrigued me, and I wanted to know more. And I'm the type of kid that it's like, once I get my mind set on something, I need to know all of it. Like a light in the sky or a picture of a UFO is not good enough for me. I need to know all of it. And I
Did
guess
you
in a way, I've
find
been,
that after you had for me it was when I first encountered it, it changed everything. I had an
yeah.
obsession. Like I had to know every detail. I was out every night in the same place. I mean, for years I did that.
Well, I think that happened back when I was around 7 years old, when I saw this TV show. Right. I did have a paranormal experience also when I was 7 years old, but I never really related it to UFOs or even knew there was a connection to it until many years later.
Are
And
you a descendant of, do you have the Irish or Native American descent?
I would be a descendant of Irish, Celtic, British. Like my
Always, yeah. It's the Irish or the. Are you able to
yeah.
communicate with spirits?
I did see, interestingly enough, I did see, well, not so much ghosts, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I can't say I ever really did communicate with ghosts, and it's not something I really want to pursue either. But I did, at age 7, I also did see like a little pixie fairy type being. It was like I really wanted to see one of these. Like I remember hearing about it with Disney fairy tales and all this. I just remember I really wanted to see one, and I finally did. And that was just a quick sighting, like where I walk into another room of the house where I was living at the time. As I walked into the room, I could see this like this mist, and I was staring at this mist for a little bit, and then curiosity gets the best of me, and I walk into the mist, and then immediately the mist dissipated, and it was just another room in the house, like an empty spare bedroom. And then immediately I see this bright little pixie running across the bed, jumped up onto the windowsill, and actually went right through the glass of the window.
Wow,
And
that's very cool.
yeah, so yeah, totally, right? And so that's actually really intrigued me for a while. And so the whole thing about when my benefactor contacted me, before that, or just before that, I remember walking to school one morning, and then it just suddenly occurred to me, it was like, if love is such a beautiful thing, then why am I supposed to be afraid of it? Now, the reason why I asked that question was because 2 family members had tormented me for years and years before that, for about 3 years before that, about having a girlfriend and all this other bit, back in my early or elementary school. And so it's like they had tormented me to such an extent that it was like I was made to feel afraid of the girl I had a crush on in the classroom. So much so that I was made to feel afraid to even go near her. And so finally, when I had changed schools, that's when I finally asked the question to myself. It's like, why am I supposed to be afraid of this? And so right around that time period, that's when I walked into school and met Monica. And then when I met her, it was like she was this like normal looking person, but she had like this bright glowing aura about her. And I kind of figured, I wonder if the aura was just because the sun had it was cloudy that morning, and the sun had just come out, and it was kind of shining on her and through her too. And it kind of lit up that aura type of glow around her. Well, anyway, I didn't really know that really what was really going on, other than when I looked into her eyes a couple times, I saw, like the first time I looked into her eyes, I could feel all this pain purging out of me. So all this, from all this abuse that I had undergone, all this trauma and abuse, and from the 2 family members. Anyway, I could feel it purging through the body. And before that, I was like a very recluse person. Like, I couldn't really talk to people anymore because it was like I was feeling embarrassed to be alive.
Oh,
Like
you know what?
that's
That's a horrible place to be. That is a horrible place to be. Look at you now. But it's, in
absolutely.
all the grand scheme of things, trauma is the way through to this. Whatever reason it is, it's, it's like that catch-22. It's like, but that seems to be the way
apparently.
through.
Yeah, apparently so. And so at the time, I couldn't even talk hardly to the kids in the class. And like I did hang out with some of the kids a few times, but for the most part, I was just an introvert loner, and couldn't really associate with anyone other than the kid that was sitting across from me. He tried to get me out there talking and things like that too. But anyway, after I met my benefactor, and it turns out her name was Monica, I wouldn't know until about 10 years later what she was really all about. And what it was is, by that time I had put together a group called the Circle of Light, and it was a mental health awareness group for people that were in high school or even in college, university, who just wanted to find solutions for mental health. And it was an idea I actually came up with back when I was 16 years of age in middle school, which would be, in Canada, we would just call it junior high school. But anyway, come to find out where a lot of the other kids were having, or quite a number of them were having problems with parents and things like that. So that, which is kind of why I put the group together. And the teachers of the school didn't like this, because they were afraid of, get this, legal lawsuits from dysfunctional parents of the kids that they were already teaching. And so that was coming in from. So I actually almost got expelled from the school.
Oh, wow.
Trying to bring mental health awareness to the school with this club that I started up called the Circle of Light. And some of the teachers were for it.
This is kind of what they do. You realize that, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
an ongoing theme. Like, and I, as a kid, you probably thought, man, what's the deal? But they can create some of this. I'm just glad that you went the direction you went, because it can really, it can do disturbing things to people.
Oh, totally. And this is like back during the mid 1980s, like around 85, 86 and that. And the reason why I thought of this is because there's an incident where I almost had a complete nervous breakdown. Actually kind of did. That's another story in itself around that time. So I thought to myself, well, this is no good. And I was thinking to myself, if they can teach academics to the kids, to the students, why aren't they teaching us mental health awareness?
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with dysfunctional parents? How do you deal with various abuses and so on? How do you deal with bullies? And it's like the school counselors would say, well, the only way you can deal with bullies is, well, you tell me. So in other words, the counselors and the teachers, turns out, didn't even know much about any more than what I knew. And so the vice principal almost expelled me from the school. And he says, well, that's not our job to pursue. That's the job of the parents. And so I went and said to him, you mean the dysfunctional parents?
Yeah.
You're telling me it's the job of the dysfunctional parents to teach proper mental health to their own kids.
Oh God, that infuriates me. I had a mother. I have a mother. I didn't have one. I had him. That infuriates me to all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the reason why I even brought it up that day is because one of my classes, and somebody came into one of our classes and wanted to talk to us about suicide, like teen suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically said, well, why don't we get to the heart of the problem? Bullying, dysfunctional parents, and they, the teachers weren't ready to even hear that from me. And that's why I was actually sent to the school office, and why they threatened to expel me, right? At that time. And I was only a 16-year-old kid at the time. And so what eventually happened is I took the group out of the school. I said, okay, they won't allow me to have this group in the school, so well, let's do it outside of the school, after school. And there was a number of kids who actually went along with me with that. We called it the Circle of Light. And so we took it through high school, and then eventually took it through back in my university. And it's like in the university, first I just called it the Psychic Club, because I was really into paranormal psychology, and that was a psychology major, along with being an astronomy major and things like that. And so we had the group that we had, then we had a lot of harassment from the Christians, like these Christian fundamentalists. And so they started making accusations like, oh, they're trying to control our minds and all this. But the Christian fundamentalists were going around and they're bothering like other ethnic groups. So the dean of the university finally said, okay, we're going to ban any discussion of any religion whatsoever in the school. So he did.
Don't you feel like it's
because
by? I just wanted to say really quick, Area 51. Thank you so much for the super chat. I saw it pop
Yeah.
up, and I like had to. I looked. I'm like, is that? Thank you so much. And as he always says, thank you to everyone. That was very cool. Did you feel like they were doing this? Okay, so was it both parents dysfunctional, like, or was it one more
it
than
was
the other?
it was one parent that was causing problems along with a sibling.
Okay,
So
I have the same thing.
and
That's interesting. That's
yeah,
very interesting.
so in other words, my father was very dysfunctional. Turns out he was an alcoholic. Didn't quite realize it. And
Wow.
then the sibling that was bothering me was my older brother. And it was like they were relentless. Like it's like they would just it was like constant bullying, especially about girls. And it's like, wait a minute here. Why are they constantly bullying me about girls? It's like I'm heterosexual all the way. Is it because they want me to be homosexual? No, it wasn't. Actually, wasn't because they wanted me to be homosexual. The real reason is because they knew I liked the girl in school, and I absolutely wouldn't tell them who the girl was.
I don't blame you.
And what's that?
I don't blame you. So
Oh yeah, exactly.
how many
'Cause I
siblings
didn't
do
want
you
her.
have total, or is it
Oh,
just
at
two
the
of
time
you?
it's just my older brother, right? And that was even before my sister was born. And so and my father was how should I even put it? It was like at times he was just raving, full of anger. And yeah, like, but oh well. I've
Well, it's
actually
hard
forgiven.
when you're like that. When it's
Yeah,
you're born into something like that. I almost, looking back on it, think it was by design. I never
yeah,
understood
and I
it.
kind of wonder if that was true, right? Like
Were you part
I've
of any
forgiven.
programs like the gifted and
What's that?
talent? They had it here. Were you part of any like programs? Like I was a part of I was a gate kid, part of the gifted and talented program. And that was a huge marker. And I didn't even realize
Oh,
it. I've always tried to look for answers, but I'm not sure what it was called up in Canada. I know there's a different name for it.
well, up in Canada, I wasn't a part of any of that. I did grow up with a learning disability,
That is
so
also any type of
yeah, like
special learning.
I've always had dyslexia, right? And interestingly enough, when you have the dyslexia that I had, it's like my awareness was so much more. It's like, well, one of the main reasons that I had problems learning was because the teachers just made it so damn boring. So damn boring, in fact, it's like the only thing that really is interesting, staring out the window watching the crows fight over trash.
You know it's
And
bad when that's entertaining, huh?
yeah, exactly.
God.
And then the teachers is like, why aren't you guys paying attention? And so then you have problems with, the kids obviously are going to become rambunctious after a while. Especially in elementary school, right? High school wasn't as bad because at least they get you to move from class to class. But it was like elementary school. It's like they sit in a desk all day. They might give you a 10-minute or 15-minute recess with a lunch hour. But after that, it's like you're just kind of sitting there bored out of your skull all day. And so the only thing I really excelled in was the stuff I was interested in. And so I would come to learn from the ETs telepathically that, how they get their kids to learn. It's like kids only learn when they're ready to learn. If they're interested in the topic, that's what they're going to focus on. That's where they're going to learn. So if you want a kid to say that to learn reading and writing at the time, well, don't give them boring books to read. Give them Star Wars or Star Trek books to read, or Dungeons and Dragons, or like stuff like that. And that's how I eventually learned. My mother went out and got me Dungeons and Dragons books. And after that, I was a good reader. Aside from the help I had from the teachers, of course. After that, but it's like, and you know, to be honest with you, even later on in high school, it's like homework is a waste of time, because a lot of the kids just go in there and try and memorize it all, do the tests, and then they forget about it all after. And you know, I guarantee you, if they did the tests a week later, they wouldn't get half the marks.
Well,
that they
half
initially
of it
got
was
on the
made
test.
up. Anyway, like, I mean,
Yeah.
who knows how much of it was even real? It was even real. I just want
Yeah,
to say
exactly.
thank you really quickly too to Pops and to Shelly and Montgomery. You guys, I'm so overwhelmed by like the super chats. Thank you so much. I just had to, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Yeah, no
yes,
problem.
thank you everybody. That's amazing.
And so anyway, just to go more onto the UFO stuff. So by the time I finished high school, we had this 16-year-old kid in our group. And I kid you not, this kid was really good at astral remote viewing. So I put him to the test. I said, okay, can you go back on, because I had a journal of things I did on specific days and stuff like that from back when I was 16 and 14, so things like that. So I eventually sent him back in time to when I met Monica, my benefactor. So he goes back in time in his astral viewing, and he immediately gets a telepathy with Monica. It was like Monica made an astral trip, directly intercepting him to meet him there with messages that she had for me. And that's how I kind of eventually realized that she was a benefactor. So anyway, I said to this guy, his name was Chris, I said, can you go into the classroom and name the first and last names of the kids from their notebooks on the desks? And he describes everything perfectly. So he was describing where I was sitting in the class, where Monica was. And so he goes up, he starts reading the names, the first and last names, and he's getting like Joe Brand, Leanne Jordan, even got the name of the teacher right, like Wallington.
Wow.
And I'm like, now that's some serious remote viewing. Meaning if he can go and remote view everyone, the first and last names of all the kids, like names that I had even forgotten about. So that in itself was really amazing. And so then he was describing Monica. So I never knew her last name. So he gives me his excuse me. He gives me her first and last name. And then then he says, but that's not her real name. And I said, well, what do you mean that's not her real name? And he says, well, that's the name he uses. No, correction. That's the name she uses to associate more in the public scene. But her actual name was like Astarte something. And then he goes on to say, and she's actually not from here. She's with a family of people who actually.
When you
fly
call
on
her your
UFOs.
beneficiary, or what do you call her, your benefactor? What do you mean exactly by that?
So anyway, come to find out, after I had this group together, then I started meeting some more interesting people, and they said, so I started really coming out with this out in the open about 10 years later, right? So then I end up meeting another woman, and she says, you know, the funny that you mentioned that, because I had the exact same thing happen to me. And that was in another school in the same town where I grew up, in Surrey, British Columbia. So she grew up in South Surrey, and she says, yeah, when she was around 13, 14, she met this guy that was around 15 or 16. Exact same thing, like aura. Like this guy had an aura, and he was extremely smart, and he actually said to her, I'm from another world, but I'm interacting with you guys get experience. So she became really good friends with this guy, and then after a certain time, one day after 2 months, he just kind of disappeared. I never heard from him again. And so it was almost like he chose her. So here's this benefactor kid. He finds a subject, which is this girl that at the time her name was Marina. So it's like he chose her to be with her and so on. And they started talking about. See, I only got to see Monica for one day, but this Marina, she got to see him for about 2 months, I think. And then I started hearing this from other people, and so come to find out, there was a very well-known guy by the name of Jordan Maxwell. He was chosen at age 13, 14 back in the 1950s by a benefactor, and he lived around Los Angeles, California. And so I started finding more and more accounts of people who were, like when they're around 13, 14, they're contacted by mysterious kids. So I didn't call them benefactors yet. We just called them mysterious kids. They kind of drop into our lives because we're interested in UFOs, and then they disappear. And so that's why I eventually came to know them as benefactors. And as a matter of fact, Preston Dennett came across a couple cases of it too. And so
in his research?
In his research. Preston Dennett actually came across some people who were also contacted by benefactors.
Oh, and then just real quickly, I just want to say, I have to say that I'm so sorry, JT.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Area 51. Thank you so much, Amy. You guys, Andrew, thank you. You guys, I'm like so overwhelmed and overjoyed. Thank you so much for the super chat. I've never in my life, I feel I'm like, oh my gosh. So thank you. Thank you. But yes, please go on, JT.
Yeah, no problem. And so anyway, I eventually come across this, I think it was back in 2010 or something like that. So I come across this one guy, we'll call him Andy. And he was interested in Sasquatches and all of that too, just like I was, and I haven't even gotten into that part of the story yet. But so I asked him, I said, by any chance, when you were in school, when you were younger, did you come across a mysterious kid who turned out to be your best friend? And he says, as a matter of fact, I did. He was sent to a boarding school, and he was feeling all depressed and anxiety and all that just from being there. And within about a month or so, he was contacted by, there's another kid that finally came to the school and who he became very, best friends with. And that kid actually, one day, they got to really know each other like best friends, right? And then one day he says, hey, I have something to show you. And they climbed up on this hill behind the school. And this is up in Idaho, somewhere out there. And so they climb up on this hill and he says, I want to show you something. And he points to the sky and he says, look there. So he looks up there and all of a sudden a UFO, like a big UFO, just suddenly appears up there. Hovers there for about a minute and then disappears. I don't remember what happened after that. So it was Andy telling me the story. And then after that, about a few days later, and then his friend just suddenly up and disappeared, like his parents came to the boarding school and got him. And so I said, well, that's a benefactor. And he said that his benefactor was able to do other things too, like holding his hands out like this and creating orbs of light between his hands. Yeah, like little things like that, right? So his benefactor spent about 4 months with him before he disappeared. Apparently taught him a whole bunch of stuff. And so I said to him, well, if he's creating orbs of light between the palms of his hand, that's not normal. Like, that really isn't just any old normal kid there. And so he says, yeah, he honestly miss him, never heard from him again. And so he's telling me all this. And I said, well, it's funny enough, because once I started thinking of my benefactor, Monica, I did all sorts of things to try and seek her out. Like, I went to, like, going up to Kamloops and other places and hoping that maybe one day I'll just happen to find her again. Well, anyway, come to find out after reading other people's accounts, and there was another account from another kid, I remember. There was another kid who also came across a benefactor kid. And he was actually invited by his benefactor to visit with his parents and family. Now, I heard this, I remember this from Coast to Coast on back when Art Bell was still around. It was one of the color-ins back then. Well, anyway, he goes on to explain that his friend finally, who had miraculous healing powers, finally invites him over to see the parents. And they have a normal turkey dinner or whatever it was that they ate that night. They're just like completely normal looking family, the whole bit. So finally he says to his friend, I need to go to the washroom. Can you tell me where it is? So his friend says, just go down the hall there and make a turn at the end of the hall to the right. Well, anyway, he goes down the hall and he accidentally makes a turn to the left, which opens the door to the garage. And lo and behold, what does he find inside the garage? A freaking parked UFO. So he's like, oh, that's something you don't see every day. And then he goes to the washroom, comes back, and he sits at the table and he says, well, what's up with the UFO in the garage? And then the father said, oh, don't worry about that. That's just the family car. In other words, the secret was out. Well, anyway, as it turns out, he this caller from Coast to Coast, he went back to his school the next day, his high school. And as his friend never came back to class. So he's thinking, I wonder what's up with that. So after school, he went back to the house where he was at the night before. And lo and behold, the door was unlocked and everything was gone. All the furniture, everything was gone. The whole house was completely vacant. Like, no message left behind, nothing.
Wow.
The only thing that was left behind was the keys in the door. And so that's actually one of my favorite stories. I would still remember to this day from someone.
Did they ever find out then what happened? Or, I mean, just...
Yeah, apparently...
I mean, go ahead.
Apparently the guy never found out what happened to the family. It's like they just up and left, right? Taking all the furniture, everything.
Sounds like something out of a really bad movie.
Yeah, totally. Yes, I was kind of thinking the same thing. Well, anyway, so finally, when I was coming across this stuff from Stephen Grenad, CSETI, back in the 1990s, I finally decided to ask the question. I said, gee, why would they make contact with me anyway? And excuse me for a minute. Okay, there we go. So anyway, I get this telepathy, like this thought or this feeling. The telepathy was, well, because you are open to the idea of our existence. And so I think that happened back in like around 92, 93. And so it was a short time later, I had this, where I was sitting at a bus stop and I had this interesting experience where I was just kind of sitting there and all of a sudden I get a visual image of me being somewhere else. I guess with these onboard, sort of the inside of a city, on board of a ship or something like that. But it was like an Egyptian city where all the walls and structures and that were like, had a soft glow to it all, and then with Egyptian hieroglyphs and cuneiform etched into the crystal walls, and like with obelisks, and there's this big, huge pyramid in the center. And then the vision, so it felt like I was actually there while I'm waiting for a bus in the middle of Vancouver, the city there.
Wow.
And so in the vision, this tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy meets up with me and says, "Hey, I want to introduce you to your benefactor." And so we go inside the pyramid, and that's when I meet Monica. And then inside the pyramid, it was like that was the bridge of the ship. And so above, which was basically a circular round room with a semicircle control panel. In the center of that was like a holographic projector, and then above that, in the spherical ceiling, there's like star maps and the whole bit.
Did it look like when they showed me, it was like a slinky that went around, how they would recreate holographically, like, let's say they wanted to go back in a period of time, they would just like digitally like created holographically around them. But it looked like to me like a slinky, but it was like a round. Yeah. Okay.
As a matter of fact, that's exactly what it looked like. That was their measurement of time. Was a slinky effect.
And yes, that's what they showed me too. Oh, that's really fascinating.
Exactly. And they also, and with that, there was the slinky effect. That was their time measurement, right? And then they also showed spheres, and there's like spheres of energy from stars intersecting each other. And they went on to explaining to me that astrology was real, and because I was really skeptical of astrology, because whatever I would read my horoscope from the local newspaper, it's like none of it ever came true or happened. So I thought astrology was just so I meet Monica there, and somebody else there, and then the captain there, and so they were explaining this astrology to me, and then in the semicircle behind me, they showed me a bunch of people, and they said these like an image of them. They said everyone you see here is actually one of your past lives. And then they actually said to me, "We are now contacting you and all of your past lives all at the same time." And so this one particular past life that stood out at the time was this one from ancient Babylon. And so as it turns out, I was an astrologer. The reason why this is so significant is because in that time, not only was I in contact with Monica, my benefactor in that life, but I was also an astrologer for King Gilgamesh. And then suddenly these memories started coming back. This is like this ancient Sumerian astrology, which was like 13 moons. They were able to calculate not only what a person's lifetime would, or what would happen in a person's lifetime during their present life. They were able to calculate who you were in a past life astrologically, and who you would be in a future life astrologically, like where you would reincarnate next and all that.
It has a lot to do with it. It definitely has a lot to do with it. I just want to say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, you guys. I'm so overwhelmed right now. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you so much, Area 51. And thank you again, Andrew, for the super chats. You guys are absolutely amazing. I'm sorry. I'm so overwhelmed. Like, it's so wonderful to I love every single one of you guys. And I don't mean to have an outburst right now. I just it was so moving and touching. Like I don't even know if it's just Benno. Thank you so much. Oh my God. I can't even, is this really real? I really, I don't even know. Thank you so much. Yes. Oh my God. Thank you. So sorry for JT. I couldn't hold it. I was sitting
Okay.
here. You
Yeah,
probably
no
think I'm
problem.
crazy. I was like, I'm gonna have an outburst. I'm like gonna cry. It means so much, and I get from the background that you're saying, and then just to have this community here and like so much love and joy that's within our community. I just absolutely appreciate it, and I never take it for granted. So, but
Yeah,
please carry
totally.
on.
So anyway, so here you have this ancient-looking Egyptian, Sumerian, whatever city of light, crystal structures and whatnot. And I'm inside the pyramid and inside of the bridge of the ship. So finally, I asked them. I said, "What's the name of this ship?" And they said, "The name of the ship is called Babylon." And then I said, "Oh, you mean this ship is named after the ancient city of Babylon?" And this is actually why they showed me my Babylonian lifetime, by the way. And was because of that question. And so they said, no, well, actually, on the contrary, your ancient city of Babylon was named after this ship. Huh. And so I also asked where are they from? And they said they're from the Sirian star system. And they also explained to me
Oh.
that
That's all of them. That's where mine is derived from, is a Syrian star
exactly.
system.
You're connected with me in that way, actually.
Oh, okay.
And in
So
fact, you
is
probably have a
your,
benefactor.
that's interesting that you say that.
Yeah,
That's so, wow.
you probably have a benefactor and may not even know it. Like there might
You're
be
probably
somebody you
right.
know that, yeah, already know that and may not have occurred to you yet. That,
Did you go and
but
did they show you C, the A, B, and C? There's the C.
they showed me. So what they showed me is that they said the Earth is evolving back towards Sirius genetically, and I didn't know what that would mean until about 3 years later. So they would show our solar system moving towards the star system of Sirius in a spiral like this. But it also was symbolic that we are genetically evolving back to our original self, to who we were back in ancient times, from a lifetime eons ago when we were in Sirius.
I
And
believe
so,
that. I believe that.
and they were also dressed in these robes with these, and they were wearing these headbands on their forehead, and the headbands with this, I guess, a crystal in the center, and that's what allowed them telepathy with each other, and also allowed them they were communicating with me telepathically because I wouldn't be able to understand their language, and it felt like I was actually on the ship. Now, come to find out, I actually wasn't on the ship. What it was is it was a visual telepathy. And so this
People don't realize that a lot of it, that it's not just vocal. They send pictures,
it's not just
images.
physical. So
Mhm.
I was on the ship, but I wasn't on it physically. I was actually experiencing an astral visual telepathy with them. And the reason being is because if I was there physically, then chances are I would have missed my bus, like going home late at night that day. So this is back in I remember the date. It was February 10th, 1993. So anyway,
It was
after that,
93?
yeah,
1993,
93.
is that said?
After that, I had some telepathy with him. And what was interesting is that before the telepathy started, both my ears would ring at the same time, real high pitch.
Yes. Oh,
Both my ears.
wow.
Now,
Did you learn
yeah,
how to tune it in then?
yeah, I guess that's what it was. And on one occasion, I felt like I was slightly levitating off the ground. I'm in the middle of a place in downtown Vancouver called Granville Island, and then all of a sudden, both my ears started going ring.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start feeling not really levitating, but feeling really light. And then after that, then the telepathy would kick in. And so one of the questions I had too was, am I going to meet Monica again? And she basically says back to me, yes, you will in due time, but not for not for about 2 or 3 more decades or something like that, but it's inevitable that we'll meet. But it will also be up to you if we meet again. And I didn't understand until years later what was really meant by that.
Wow.
It was because, the reason being is because, come to find out, everyone who's contacted by a benefactor, like they'll kind of, whether they're with us for a single day or whether they're with us for about 2 or 3 months, they're taught certain things, and then after that they suddenly disappear, and then usually their subjects go on a quest to find them again. But that quest could last for decades. Okay, now, but where you finally find them again is usually through telepathy. But it was interesting because I didn't even know that, and here they were contacting me telepathically. But they still wanted me to find them telepathically, which eventually
They're
happened.
pinging you, right?
Yeah, I guess it's something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of wondered, like it's part of it's still like a mystery to me. So they also went on to say that we don't just walk among you as individuals, but we also walk among you as families. And they may even, like, they drive our cars, live in our houses for a certain period of time, and so on. And so I guess it was about 10 years ago, interestingly enough, I had this feeling that Monica's waiting for me somewhere out in Vancouver. Oh man, you're going to love this story. So anyway, what happens is, so I'd mentioned this to a friend of mine, and his name is Graham, okay. And we're not really friends anymore, but for the sake of the story, I'll talk about him. So I told him, well, you can request a benefactor too. And so he did that. He requested a benefactor, and he was already familiar with the telepathy with the Sasquatches. Yeah, so he tried that, and he actually got a response. And so we
Wow. Did you learn how to, when I get the ringing in the ears, I didn't understand that, but when you said that I learned to lock in and then pull in to your chest.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah,
I don't get
okay.
ringing in the ears.
And it tunes it, yeah.
Anymore. But yeah, you actually, and so I kind of wanted to make sure that I wasn't just going like crazy or something like that. But the telepathy they used, it's not a voice that you hear in your head. So this is where the difference is. The telepathy that they use, just like the Sasquatch, it's thoughts, feeling, visual. That's how they do it. It's almost like some people call it a universal language of light. I would just call it a universal language of thought.
So when you say the universal language of light, this takes me back, because you've heard me talk about the 3 machines that they used on me as a child that was at that farm. One was a light machine.
I'm not familiar with this.
Oh, okay. So when you said light, I'm always looking for pieces. One was 2 rods you hold on to, and they programmed the frequency. The second one was a plate, like 2 metal plates you put in water, your feet on it for grounding, is from what I understand. And the third one was a flashing light, and they told me that if I was missing, kind of how they'd explained it as a child, that it was repairing something, but I never quite never understood it. But the machines were important enough. There was an FBI raid. My grandmother and I went out. We got a call in the middle of the night to come and get the machines out. And we went, I remember at like 2:30 in the morning. I was only like 12 years old when but they thought it was rumored to be a CIA cleanup job, is kind of what it was rumored to be. So I was curious about with the lights. Yeah, when you said that about the light, if that had any correlation.
The language of light, that's just the term that somebody, a friend of mine at Mount Shasta at the time, that was what she called it, right? She called the telepathy language of light. It just means So it's like telepathy is this universal inner knowing. So it's like if I communicate with you telepathically, you're not going to hear my voice, but you'll suddenly get this feeling of me and a feeling of what I'm thinking. And that is apparently universal. And so that's how they communicated with me, because they also have their own language. Even though Monica does also speak English, definitely. And I would eventually meet her again. I eventually met her again at Mount Shasta.
Mount
And that was
Shasta
real
near, that's in Washington, right? Near ECETI?
That's in Northern California, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I lived in so now I know where you're talking about. Driving through this, that's a beautiful area.
Oh, absolutely. And you get all sorts of UFOs and stuff there. And I knew about Mount Shasta. Okay, so I knew about Mount Shasta from reading about it from Billy Meyer. I don't know if you're familiar with Billy Meyer or not, right? A lot of people are turned off from Billy Meyer because Michael Horn is very very opinionated and very aggressive, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Michael Horn is like he's very confrontational. Okay. And
Yeah, he's been on my show a couple times, and then I told him, I said, now if you don't behave yourself, I'm kicking you off. Like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all crazy. Yeah.
And the reason why he's like that is because, like, let's just face it, he's upset. Like, he's really, really obsessed with Billy Meyer. Now, so Billy Meyer to me is significant, absolutely, but he's also like another person. And I guess it was also brought to my attention that what a lot of people don't realize, or maybe what a lot of people may need to realize, is that Billy Meyer's group Figure it's not a UFO study group by any means. All it really is, actually, the real purpose of Figure is basically just teaching people how to live their day-to-day lives with neutral positive thinking and neutral positive living, right? Based on like teachings of creation, teachings of truth, and all that. But anyway, on the other hand, I'm the type of person that, like, well, I learned all of that back in university from the Science of Mind group. I just noticed we're kind of changing, are we?
I didn't want so I wanted you to be the.
Okay.
Did you want me to change it back?
Oh no, that's okay. That's okay.
Oh,
You can
okay.
have it like that. But you can do whatever you want, really.
I love it.
And so anyway, Billy Meyer's teachings was never supposed to be confrontational or any of that and whatnot. In fact, like Michael Horn has even been confrontational even towards Billy Meyer at one point even. And Billy's group and so forth. And
I wonder why he's like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he even gaslighted me at one time when I brought up the topic.
He's bad, yeah.
Right? But anyway, I would find out from Billy Meyer actually 3 years after I had the UFO vision I was telling about at the bus stop, that there actually was a group of beings called benefactors from the Syrian system, and that they would actually make contact with us again once our scientists discover the emotional aggression gene imbalance and are able to fix that, and also with the aging gene to be able to fix that. So apparently we have a natural lifespan, or are supposed to have a natural lifespan of up to 400 years normally. But these people from the Syrian system, they kind of mentioned to me, their lifespan actually goes up to 1,500 years.
Oh, wow.
So
Do you know if
So
there's any
apparently,
while you're talking
yeah.
about this, I'm so fascinated because I've never met anybody that's been so closely connected with it other than you.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so
I've been
I
pretty
just
much.
like I'm just really like I'm just like taken away by that point.
Yeah.
Did you is there any distinguishing characteristics, like let's say of somebody that you have found from that area, like, or if I were looking for somebody, I guess, in my life that might have been that person, I guess, what kind of
Oh.
characteristics is there physical characteristics that they have, do you think, or
Oh. You mean of the actual benefactors?
yeah, or I guess people who are even you and I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like, as to like, because there's always like similarities like in this. There's always, those links, and so I was just curious.
Well, the benefactors are really, if ever you see these dudes, like meet them on the street and whatnot, they're like really, well, at least when I met them anyway, they were like really perfect looking people. Okay. Like when I met Monica, she was like the most perfect looking woman I'd ever seen. Now, the funny part about that is when I tried to describe that to people, it was really hard for them to visualize a perfect looking person. But now get this, as of about 2 or 3 years ago, not anymore. Why is that? Because the AI visual images that is actually drawing out perfect looking people, just like what these benefactors look like. So when
Mm.
AI was first released, like on Windows or whenever it was, you'd ask the AI, create me an image of a woman. Well, it would do that, and then it's like, my goodness, these people look like benefactors, like that which the AI is actually drawing out. I thought that was really peculiar. So I actually managed to get a drawing of Monica done through AI that looks very much like her. And so finally, I was able to show people that and say, "This is what Monica actually looked
Do you
like for the
have
first
the
time." Yeah,
picture of her,
yeah, I
JT?
do. Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to share it right now because
Oh,
I.
okay.
The reason being is because I noticed that when I logged into your StreamYard, it's like they changed quite a bit of the parameters in that. Since I use that
There's something
since
wrong with our StreamYard. Everybody else seems to be
yeah.
okay, but there is something really wonky. As soon as the month runs out, I'm switching. We should be up in a couple days, but
Well,
yeah,
I also
this.
had problems with but I also had problems with Chrome, um,
Hmm.
like Google Chrome. It's like the Google Chrome actually knocked out my microphone
That's what
on my main
happens. If you
computer.
notice, I'm freezing. I went to a MacBook. They said that it's not.
Yeah,
They said it's a Windows 11. Well, that's great because I'm on a MacBook Pro right now, so it's on
yeah,
an iOS system, but it's still Google Chrome. So that can't be the reason. I don't even have Windows.
yeah. So I
But it's
decided maybe I'll
still.
just get a new, yeah. Once I get a new computer, maybe I'll try and figure that out again. But maybe that's what happened because it updates, and then the computer maybe doesn't update with it, and then it knocks out your microphone and who knows what else, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
they
yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I've been going to get on there, like, and it's just right at that moment, and it kicks me off, and I'm like, of all times, you couldn't have done that, like two. Twice I had two guests, I couldn't even get to them. My phone was connected through my computer. They were stuck out there. I couldn't even believe it.
yeah, exactly. That's and so anyway, there was another person in our chat here, really nice person, Jules. So she mentioned to me that when she saw these beings as a kid in person as well, they were perfect looking to her too. So anyway, and I got a real kick out of this. So since she was about maybe 5 or 6 at the time, right? I think. Anyway, she says that because they were so perfect looking, she decided to call them Barbie people. As
Wow.
of that perfect looking appearance. And keeping in mind, this is probably like back in 60s, 70s, around there, right? Or whenever it was when she first saw these beings. And so when she said that, I'm like, yeah, I can absolutely relate there. Like they really do look like there's no Like it's like their faces and their bodies are like completely flawless.
Wow.
They're just like computer generated images, right? And so due to the fact that I would see something like this back in the early 1980s, it's like that's like 40 years ago.
Like weird science playing out
Yeah,
in
yeah,
real
exactly.
life.
Yeah, exactly. And so I would learn a lot of this stuff from the benefactors, but I also would meet and learn a lot from the Sasquatches. And so the Sasquatches and the benefactors, they seem to have a strong connection with each other. The benefactors actually kind of look after the Sasquatches, like move them to places of safety and stuff like that. I also would learn about portals and things like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I
So they are very
so
much
also-
aware of one another.
Yeah, exactly. Because the benefactors actually look after the Sasquatches quite greatly, and there's different groups of Sasquatches. Well, anyway, I would meet this, I guess my original mentor in regards to that. He was a guy by the name of Stan Johnson. So Stan Johnson was, he was one of the first guys to really be in contact with Sasquatches. So all he was this typical hillbilly, retired logger, whatever, and finally around age 8, no, wasn't. I think it was around age 75 or something like that. He was living at a cabin out there in Oregon with his wife, and he meets up with these human-like Sasquatches. So they were Sasquatch beings, but they were a lot more human-like compared to, say, the being from the Patty film. So the being from the Patty film is more like, I would often refer to them as the hominids, since they have more of a gorilla human. They seem to be like a gorilla human hybridization, whereas these other ones that Stan contacted, I call them humanids, since they seem to be a hybridization between a hominid and a person. If that makes
See,
sense.
Pops
So
talks about him too, and he said that his clan looks more human-like. Now, I have never seen
Yes.
them looking more human-like, but yes.
There's a guy so Stan was the only one I really met. And so Stan was, that was telling me this, right? The first person, not the only one, but the first person I met. So I didn't really know anyone else who was in contact with Sasquatches and that yet. So he put me in contact with a guy by the name of Kiwani. And he says, yeah, I'm not the only one by any means. I'll talk to this guy, Kiwani, and he'll tell you. Unfortunately, Kiwani and Stan Johnson had quite a bit of falling out because, unfortunately, Kiwani was another one of those individuals who's a really good speaker, but he's very confrontational.
You just pair him up with Michael Horn.
Exactly. Yeah, just like Michael Horn, right? And so Kiwani would usually burn his bridges with everyone eventually. And but he did put me in contact with some people that actually also had contacts with Sasquatches telepathically and had gone through portals and things like that. And Stan Johnson, after I met him in '95, he passed away, I think about 3 years later, unfortunately, because he was really up there in age. But he just had some interesting stuff to say. So when I went out with him out in the woods, he actually showed me the location of where this portal was. He says, the portal is closing right now, but if you step here, you can feel the energy. Then you can feel this energy, going from your feet right up through your body, like a light tingling sensation, all the way up to the pineal gland. And he explained that this is actually the reason why this is possible is because it's part of it's a vortex that's generated from the Earth. That's where they open up their portals, is at these vortex points. And so it's like the ley lines of the Earth. the ley lines and the acupressure points of the earth. Just like our human bodies also have acupressure points in that too, in a very similar manner, just like the earth does. Well, anyway, they actually took him into this other dimension a few times, and he would go into this other dimension, and he was also in contact with a being called Ashtar.
Oh.
Now the being, yeah, now that was an interesting story in itself. This being called Ashtar, who was in contact with him between the years of 1980, when he first got in contact with the Sasquatch beings, all the way up to 1983. And then when 1983 rolled around, Ashtar was no more. He didn't have any more contact with them, but he did have contact with these other beings, though.
That's interesting that you're saying all this. So that I see 1983 is a huge year for me. That's when I entered into preschool with the gifted and talented program. But there's a connection.
Exactly.
Have you heard of the this is probably going to sound even weirder, but have you heard of the Council of Nine?
Oh yes, absolutely. I can tell you all about the Council of Nine. You want to know?
I'm I stumbled upon it, and I haven't even so much as presented that part of it, but that's yes. Could you go on? I'm
Okay.
at a loss for words. I really am. I'm just so blown away. But yeah, go ahead.
So the benefactors have an alliance with two other groups. Okay. Well, the benefactors actually consists of three different groups. The first group is these lizard humans. So they're amphibious humans, but they genetically engineered themselves over the thousands of years to be more human like us. Meaning they have hair and stuff like that, and they so in essence we could call them the green race. So they originate from the Sirian system as well, going back thousands of years. The benefactors were the ones that originally brought us to Earth as well. And so our ancestry goes all the way back to with them. And then there's a second group of benefactors. They're not necessarily from the Sirian system. Those would be the Toblans or Nordics. And then there's a third group. I think they're from the Sirian system. And they call themselves the Azarian. And the interesting thing about these dudes is that they usually exist in groups of three. So in other words, if they make a settlement here on Earth in a hidden area, they'll usually make two more that are identical to it. But over time, there's more than just groups of three now. Like the benefactors have cities under the oceans, and they also have cities under mountains. Well, sort of like small cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they also have ships in our solar system. But the Council of Nine is actually, as far as I know, is located on one of the moons of Jupiter called Ganymede. And they're the ones that actually originally contacted an individual by the name of Uri Geller. And his job was to put together his job was supposed to, in London, England, put together, if I got this correct, put together something called the Magician's Magic Circle, which evidently was sponsored by King Charles himself.
Mm.
And what it was is that a bunch of these benefactors would actually go forth as magicians. But not all magicians are benefactors. Some of what the magicians teach actually comes from a line of spiritual yoga, which is called Samyama Yoga. So if you can learn Samyama Yoga, you can actually learn to be a benefactor. And how was that? Well, what's the two primary things they teach in Samyama Yoga? Also, some people pronounce it as Sanyama yoga. But what it is just basically when you completely quiet the mind and you focus on a candle flame or an object,
Mm-hmm.
and then you become one with it. And there's native groups that were taught this Samayama actually also independently. And unfortunately, within our New Age community, and especially what happened in India over the past, probably more so in the past 100 years, a lot of self-proclaimed gurus and so forth went forward with bits and pieces of info relating to the Sanyama teachings. And not really, it was almost as though they didn't really understand what it really was. And so they have their own ideas of Kundalini, chakras, etc. That doesn't really apply to the real teachings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one big, as was point eventually I would come to find out, like transcendental meditation especially, was sort of like an alteration, which can actually cause a person harm if they don't understand what's really involved with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I actually don't recommend transcendental meditation because it can actually physically injure a person. But when you learn Samayama meditation, one of the things you learn, actually two things you learn, and that's invisibility and levitation. And so when these yogis were eventually fully learned levitation, then they were considered to be, to master levitation was considered to be to ascension. That's where the actual word ascension originally comes from. And then it wasn't until Blavatsky Madame Blavatsky actually made it into something else completely different after she moved to India, after she was kicked out of the US, I guess with her partner there. Then she met these yoga masters that were they were more than that. They were, I guess, part of the Azarian group. And in India, they had a name for them. They called them, they didn't call them Azarians. They called them something else. Oh, Mahatmas. So the Sanskrit name for them is Mahatmas. But in Tibet, I guess they were called Azarians. And so these Azarians were, I know of 3 different groups where these Azarians are. So they're found they can be found in the far north of the Himalayas in the Altai Mountains, in a place called Chiang Shambhala. There actually is a community there that's like on the north tip of China, right? Because at one time the Altai Mountains is kind of like considered to be like the north of the Himalayas.
Mm-hmm.
Back when it was part of Tibet. And so there's Chiang Shambhala, and that's in a very narrow canyon. And so that's where the Azarian people live. But they have another group in Peru, sort of like in the northern part of Peru, I think now. And in Peru, they're actually called Apunians. And then they have a third group in Mexico, I guess in the Oaxaca area of mountains of Mexico, and they're actually called Unarians.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, totally, eh? And so when you see them, they look like if you were to see them in person, they're usually like a dark yellow, goldish type skin with Asian-like complexion. So that's the third group.
Wow.
So this council of mine on Ganymede, it seems to be a council of them and possibly even other extraterrestrial beings. And there's other beings that are friendly to us, of course. They
Would
be
you
from the council
recognize
of
some
mine.
of them if you saw them? I was able to get a picture, and I'm just
Oh,
curious to get your. I don't know if you've ever seen me pull that picture before, but I'm
oh,
curious because I actually like it's very interesting. I'll pull it up here really quick while you're talking about it. But if you can see behind my shoulder, the two
oh,
that
wow.
are right there, it's harder to see. Let's see if I can like kind of, but their cheeks, I mean, their eyes are definitely, you definitely see ET, but the nose and the mouth is really like more. I don't know if you're able to see that or not, but I mean, they're
I can kind of
clearly,
see it.
yeah. I'll see if I can find a better picture, but it was really, I felt them, and then I was like, so I took a picture, and then that was behind me. It
Well,
showed up
you might have actually got a partial picture of an actual cloaked being,
as a what?
like an actual cloaked being, because they do come in cloaked around us, right?
Mm,
They do that
that's
with me
interesting.
quite often. I act like back in a few months after I met Monica, I had my mother took a picture of me, like it was a series of photos, and one of the photos there's a red UFO hovering over my like a small little UFO about that big maybe, hovering
Oh
over my
wow.
right shoulder. Yeah, and she said, "Oh, maybe it's just a camera flare or something. Maybe it is." But then I thought, no, that looks like a little UFO. Like it was like right in the living room where we were living at the time.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
yeah, totally. So that's what that picture actually kind of reminds me of.
It's
But
just
they
like they I met three different beings, either the short grays, tall grays, and then ones that look like them, but they were in
yeah.
threes. Like that it was when they came, it was I did see three of them when you said that before, so I thought that was very fascinating too.
Oh, and the gray aliens are actually quite interesting. That's an interesting topic in itself because I encountered some of them too. And what I would come to find out was the Greys, I guess originally from Zeta Reticuli. They, I guess you could say they made the error of making contact with everybody out there. I guess they were desperate, trying to save themselves or what. But what they did is they tried to hybridize with everyone, like not just people of Earth. They tried hybridizing with benefactors, with Dracos, with and the ones from Orion. Huh. We haven't even touched
Oh,
on that.
yes, yes.
So,
Wow.
so the ones from Orion are like they're I would call them the serpent race.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a name for them, and I call them Naganakis. And
Naganakis?
yeah, Naganakis. So you're familiar with the elongated tall beings known
Mm-hmm.
as the Anunnaki?
They're the ones that showed me the slinky of and how they recreated time. So they did not disrupt it
Yeah.
whatsoever, but holographically. So I would because I saw a child. That was what really stuck out to me. I almost felt like it was their ship or wherever you're taken to or whatever it is. I have no idea, but I
Yeah.
was able to walk around more freely. But there was a child there. He looked more like you and I, but he had bald and he was just waiting and wait, and it really like stuck with me. And I was like, is so I felt like and I asked them too, I felt like it was in a simulation process, if that makes sense. So they would
Yeah.
take it was I'll never forget it. The ET had this big hat, like bonnet type hat, like you'd think she had a head full of rollers under it, and it had these red roses on it. I mean, they tried to blend in, but it was like so obvious that they were not blending in. But and then they were simulating like some of the stuff that we do here, like mini golf or something. They would, be out but it wasn't actually, they weren't out doing it. It was again their simulation of it.
Wow. Isn't that something? So apparently, maybe not so much anymore. I don't think, but at one time, Earth was supposedly enslaved by the Naganakis. Actually, all in cultures all over the world. The Naganakis of today don't seem to be hostile. I mean, the ones of today. like if which is very rare to even come across one today. But ones that are still here are actually quite friendly so far. But there's a big, huge history on those dudes. But they're actually known as snake people or snake morphs. So they morph from being a snake to that a human and back again. But they seem to, but when I remote view them, they seem to be more like caterpillar snake
Oh,
people.
that's
And
interesting.
yeah, totally. And they have the ability to match, to actually morph their DNA to match their DNA to that of ours, make it compatible. Well, they can actually do that with other alien species too. And
So
when
do you think
yeah.
that some of us, like, okay, so I've always, and I never started putting the pieces together until I stumbled on the Council of Nine. My blood pressure, low blood pressure. I have low body temperature. I never run a fever. If I do, I'm always like, like right under the marker. I'm trying to think of some of the other characteristics, and I'm like, man, I one time I didn't know. I'm like, what is going on here? Because it was so confusing. I'm like, and then I was like, I hope I'm not like I don't even want to say it out loud, a reptilian, but I have this brain scan and somebody, I don't even know how they got it. It's in my closet and it's the only hard copy of it that they would have taken because it matched up. But they were saying that I had a reptilian in my brain, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's laughing." I said, "That's not." A certain segment of the population is going to believe this. Okay, they're going to believe this, and I was like starting to like become more alarmed. I'm like, man, am I? Who in the hell am I? Is what I was wondering. Because it's very odd that this pocket, it went in front of the team of surgeons at Mayo Clinic, and then my grandma and I flew out to Johns Hopkins, and nobody they never knew what it was. It's so close to the brainstem, but then come to find out that the fluid, I guess, that it encapsulates is a way, it's like creating a two-way radio.
Well, like telepathy.
Yeah, but the pocket of fluid that is around, I don't know if it's I'm not even sure. I can pull. I don't even mind showing the brain scan now because it was all over Twitter. And that's even the weirder part. How did they get it? How did they get a picture of it? Because it's literally, and I matched it up to the markings that I had. And the only reason I had the hard copies was Mayo Clinic. It was 95 at that time. And they didn't have the electronic transfers like they do now.
Oh,
so it was so I kept my hands on it. But yeah, so it come to find out, like I'll pull it up here so you can see it. I don't, like I said, I don't mind showing it now. At first I was like, how the hell did they get their hands on it? It was like, it just blew my mind. I mean, I went to my closet and I'm like, is this, and I was thinking, I live out in the middle of nowhere. How did they possibly, sorry, I'm going to share my screen with you and show it to you, how they possibly got it. But they said that this encapsulated in there, I guess, can be a way of communication. So I don't know. Let me pull it up here real quick. Sorry. I have to get rid of this one, I think. And then it's also fascinating. It's so nice to be able to share. Like I had no clue. I had no clue that you were that connected. It's very, very cool. Very cool.
Well, you definitely feel that I have to admit, for the first year that I knew that I would see you on Facebook, I thought you were a benefactor.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You're definitely very close to it.
So you can spot one. I always say you can always spot one of your own. I do not. I'm not a benefactor, but that's when all of this came out. Like when it came forward, like I have it all written down. But it was a Sirian star system, and I'm like, that is really cool because I'm not.
So
everybody
we definitely have a connection there.
Yes. That is very cool, and you see a lot. I mean, I'm trying to won't pull it up, but just go ahead. Yeah, if you want to keep going ahead, I'll find it. Okay. For whatever reason, it's not.
Yeah, so there's a big history with the Naganekis that would probably take a while, but they were the ones who initially enslaved humanity back in ancient times, going back around 75,000 years ago. So that's a very long time ago, if you know what I mean. So the ones of today are very different. Because eventually what happened is a big war breaks out between the Naganakis and the benefactors at that time. And our solar system actually used to have three Earths in a way, actually technically four, because it wasn't just our Earth. There was another planet that was about 4 times the size of our Earth, so it was like a super Earth. And that Earth was actually called, like we would call it Melona or Marduk. That's another name for it. Or when back then, when the serpent Naganakis took over, the name they had for that world was called Tiamat.
Oh, wow.
And most people would know it today as Marduk. I think of it more of it like Melona. But that world actually, so here you have something that's 4 times the size of Earth, and it has, so it's like a super Earth, but it also has 2 moons that are actually very Earth-like, smaller than our Earth. One of those moons was Mars.
Oh, wow.
The other, what's that?
I said, oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, one of their moons was actually Mars, and it was habitable too, with life and everything, just like Earth. And Mars, interestingly enough, is like 1/4 of the size of Earth, which means that it would be 1/8 the size of Meldig. And then there was another moon that also was inhabited life that Marduk had, and that was called Urkon. So anyway, I guess when the big war broke out, because the Naganakis at that time were not only enslaving us, but they were using humans as food, like a food source too, like a workforce and a food source. After they worked people to death, they had dinner afterwards. Okay, and that's when they built that's when they were building these pyramids all over the world. But they also built pyramids on Melona and on Mars and that too. Now, exactly what they use these pyramids for, and the reason for that, I still don't quite understand yet.
Yeah, that's very fascinating. I have it really quickly. Do you want me to pull this up really quick before you? Okay. Are you able to see?
Yeah.
So if you look at, yeah, it's very interesting. So it's the kidney bean looking, I just accidentally did kidney bean looking thing that's in there, and somebody got a hold of this. How they got a hold of it, I have no idea. And I even went to my client. I mean, like, you'd have to have, and you can see on there, it has my name. You can see Mayo Clinic 95 on there, and that happens to be when the strong pull, and it happened right after the farm, the FBI raid happened.
Yeah.
Was the next step was these MRIs, and I think again, it's by design. I just have not put all the pieces together on it.
Have you had MRIs since then, like 20 years later than that?
Okay, so I went in, I had a really bad migraine. This is probably like, I stopped believing that was in there. And I still don't think it is what they say it is. If you can go to the Mayo Clinic, and the Mayo Clinic has no idea, and they went in front of like their team of surgeons and the children neurological, like, whatever. And then the John Hopkins, that's your second, largest hospital. It's the renowned, for training doctors. They don't understand it. So when I went in for my MRI, a CAT scan for my migraine, they couldn't find it.
Oh, it was gone. Like completely gone.
Well, they couldn't find it. So I'm thinking in my head, and I've never ever after that, because I said what I felt like is, I told people, I said, I'm not even, this is going to sound as crazy as I probably have come up with yet, but I think this is a civilian Montauk. I think that this somehow is like playing into the civilian part of it. And I do affect electricity, and I do affect, and I say, like, I used to take streetlights out as a kid. Well, I might freak my parents out, but I'm like, well, what do you expect? I mean, like, I've been hooked up to machines. My family doesn't even think this is that weird, which is
Yeah.
more alarming. You don't think it is weird? I said to my dad, I have all these text messages. I was like, Dad, trying to locate these machines. What do and he's like, oh, you remember better than we would because you were with your grandmother. And I was like, I was 12 years old, Dad, when we left in the middle of the night to go and get these 3 machines out before an FBI raid. Like, you don't think that's a little alarming? I don't know what to say. I just like, I don't know. It's like, are they programmed like this? Because I swear, I'm one of these times I'm gonna on a show call my dad so everybody can hear what this is
Well,
like, because it's great. It sounds totally crazy, but it's true. But he was raised by my grandmother too, and it was never by far normal, quote unquote. But yes, I mean, we're talking about blood being monitored in a barn with a telescope. One of the Rife telescope, and one of the machines was also a Rife. So I don't know where it all connects, but I'm hoping if anybody has any answers or anything, please, by all means, reach out to me, because I would love some answers on this.
well, what you just showed me there, it's beyond me. Other than maybe it was something that the benefactors healed, I have no idea.
I think that it was, and again, thank you, Area 51. I'm trying to keep it together, JT. I really am. I'm so overwhelmed with all of it. I'm so sorry. I don't think I've ever lost my composure like this. I mean, you'll have to excuse me for a second.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you guys so much.
Yeah.
I don't even know. But I don't I think it's there, and it's like the pocket of fluids there. But I think that it has something to do with communication and the way that I'm communicating. And from what I can understand in relation to the Council of Nine, is that everybody operates outside of universal law in some way. But I mean, together you operate. And between this year and next year, you're going to start pinging one another with frequency. And I'm really trying to like prove this wrong. I thought there is no possible way that this can exist. And that's when I learned how to regulate. And when I did pull the energy, all of a sudden I could hear just clear as day, like crystal clear. I could hear people. I'm talking, and I was like, what in the hell is this? So that's as far as I got with it. But I just really taken
Well,
back by all of
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Well, the Council of Nine. So I wanted to make mention. So after you master levitation and invisibility, then all the other abilities will eventually come naturally, which are actually called siddhis. The siddhis are, some people will call them siddhis, some people will call them siddhus. I like to call them siddhis, but what it is there are these extra abilities that, well, I wouldn't say it doesn't make you invincible, but it does make you kind of, shall I say, rather superhuman. And so the Sasquatches and benefactors and that, they've mastered this stuff since they were kids. Like, can you imagine going to school and they teach Samyama or whatever, yoga meditations since like first grade. And we haven't even gotten into the topic of invisibility yet. But one of the, and how that works. But you were saying that you wanted to learn how to become invisible?
I would love to know how to cloak invisibility. I've never. I heard you say that the other night. That's fascinating. Is that part?
Yeah.
Do you think that each person? I guess. Do you think that the Council of Nine? I'm going to ask you this real quick. Is currently in motion? That they're continuous? That when one goes, another one comes?
I don't see why not. I mean, that's how our political structure works, right?
Right,
Like,
right. I guess that's what, yeah,
yeah,
I guess that's a good way of putting it. And then do you think that, are you under the understanding that they're here to change the frequency or change, I guess for humanity in some way, shape, or form?
I would say absolutely. I think they were responsible for everything. Like the whole idea of their kids going in and contacting our kids, like their kids going and finding subjects to contacting them. Like so, I'm thinking about myself. Like so, when I was first contacted by Monica. By the way, I eventually kind of asked them, why did Monica only spend 1 day with me, whereas most kids get at least 2 or 3 months with their benefactor. Well, the reason being is because I was actually supposed to change schools the year before to where I met her, but they really wanted me to change. They were actually waiting for me to change schools the year before, and Monica was there waiting for me the year before, and the only reason why I didn't is because I had a crush on another girl in the school that I was in. But if I had actually changed schools, and Monica would have met me a year before, and we would have spent like 2 or 3 months together.
Wow. See, that's where I wonder if the gifted, like the gifted and talented, but later on I had Mrs. King and I was always
Yeah,
sent, I was always isolated. I was always kept away from other kids. Didn't even matter. I went to, I was locked in the coat, not locked, but they sent me to the coat closet for talking too much in kindergarten. It was always kept, isolated in a way. So I'm just wondering, when you said that, I do remember distinctively like one teacher that I would have to go and they would try and help me organize my stuff. So yeah, it's really
well, there,
fascinating. You're kind of like, the wheels are going in my head. I'm trying to make the connection. I think I'm close, but I'm just not quite hitting it. But wow,
so chance,
great
yeah.
information.
So chances are you may have had a very unusual friend when you're 13 or 14, or
Like,
can you
would
recall?
it be somebody my age?
Yeah, like somebody around your age, or maybe a year or so older. And
I think all my
in one
friends were
case,
interesting.
yeah, well, like
But
into UFOs and stuff like that, right?
see, back then it wasn't. I'm not sure how old you are. I'm 47. I just turned 47.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you right around that? And that, I feel like
Um,
you're probably right around the same age as I am. There wasn't a lot of stuff out there. So, but I was
actually,
always,
I'm in my 50s, believe it or not.
oh wow. No, I wouldn't even, yeah. I can't
Yeah,
even, I said hopefully I aged just that well too. But they there's like a 10-year window, I was told too, like between, I can't remember, through, like, I think I caught the cusp of it. That
yeah.
we're supposed to kind of sync some of this together. And then I forgot. I was like, I'm really keeping it together here. Um, yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
I totally like.
That's
I'm like
okay.
so overwhelmed today. I can't even.
I'm just kind of adjusting my posture because you get kind of. So I don't get
I don't think
cramped.
I've ever lost my composure like this ever, and I'm like, I'm just, and it is so cool because all of this, I had no idea that it was just so connected. I look forward to exchanging more information with you and figuring some of this out because wow,
Well,
I'm
apparently
glad that
yeah,
you brought all this. This is awesome.
and apparently you can request a benefactor. So I want to tell you more about that. So it's like me and this other guy, Graham. So he gets a telepathy that we're supposed to meet in the city park of Vancouver, known as Stanley Park. So we go there at a very specific time on a very specific day. So we both go out in there and meet it there. So he requested a benefactor, and I was going to meet my benefactor, Monica, there too. His benefactor introduced herself telepathically to him as Tara. And so, unfortunately, because a whole bunch of people suddenly came into the park, then we both get a telepathy saying, sorry, we can't meet you today because of this unforeseen event where all these people just suddenly came into the park, because we were going to meet them in person in full visual. And then they said, however, if you leave by this entrance, we'll leave you a sign that we were actually here. Now here's the kicker. So we walk over towards the entrance to where we were told to go, like this one entrance to the park, like an exit actually for us. As we get there, lo and behold, we see two sets of women's shoes sitting right there in front of us at the end of the trail. A white pair of women's shoes, like these are like high heel, is it stiletto type shoes, right? And then there was a black pair. So it was the most funniest thing I'd ever seen. Couldn't stop laughing. And I said, "Oh, I bet you the black pair must have belonged to Monica." And then he says, "Yeah, I know. The white pair belonged to Tara." That was it, and it was just the most funniest thing at the time. And in fact, at the time, I couldn't even stop laughing over it. And then because I thought to myself, well, if they're leaving their shoes behind, then what do they have on their feet?
You know, their clothing and like I know what I was
Yeah.
going to say before too is you were talking about how the benefactor, I'm just wondering the kids that I saw up on with the tall grays, if that's not what was happening with them before they
Yeah.
came and assimilated, I guess, all together. Like that would be a benefit, you know what I'm saying? Like that's that kid that you were talking about would have been like that kid that was
Chris.
sitting there
Yeah, he
waiting
was
there.
playing something. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like when Chris went to that time period, it's like Monica waited for him to come in the astral and immediately had a message for him to relay to me. And Chris isn't the first. And so when I got together with this guy, Andy, I told him about Monica, and he started getting telepathy from her too.
Wow.
And yeah, totally. Well, anyway, come to find out that as we would both find out, so when the benefactors started making contact with individuals, apparently it goes all the way back to the early 1900s when they made a contact with a guy back in. So he was the first benefactor contactee. His name was 1917. And it's just for some reason the name slipped my mind. But anyway, this guy was, it'll probably come to me in a few minutes. He was the son of, his parents were both like electronic engineers. And his parents, Norman. Ernest Norman was his name. And so his parents were actually involved with the creation of the television. And so back when they were still in England. So they moved to Southern California around the early 1900s. And then when he was 13 in 1917, they contacted him. And they basically said, we would like you to put together a group because primarily for scientists like Nikola Tesla and other people like that, in order to, to help advance their technology and things like that. Well, anyway, come to find out, lo and behold, there's another individual off the coast of Argentina, in Buenos Aires. Aires, I think is how you pronounce it. His name was Benjamin Peravarsini, and they told him the exact same thing. And so he was contacted, I think, about a year or two later, like around 1918 or something like that. And turns out that the benefactors actually have an underwater base off the coast of Argentina, and they also have another one off the coast of San Diego. And so a lot of the people who are contacted by benefactors will usually have a very strong feeling to eventually go into San Diego. And they also have underground passageways underneath Los Angeles, like an underground city there, and they have an underground underwater ocean facility just not too far from Catalina Island.
Oh, and, Catalina Island. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so there's benefactors there too, right? And yeah, so a lot of people who are contacted by benefactors will usually find them in that area too.
So
So
interesting.
so if you want to meet a benefactor, you might find them around San Diego. And so I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's why they have this event every year called Contact in the Desert. If I remember correctly, that's where a lot of that takes place, is around San Diego. And yeah, so I'm just going through it in my head here. And so about 10 years later after I had that vision at the bus stop and all that, I think you'll like this. 10 years later, in around May of 2013, I start getting visions of a big, huge, humongous UFO with a biodome, with an island, an entire island situated inside a biodome on top of the UFO.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't really know what any of this was getting all this clear imagery and everything. And they basically explain, they're kind of asking me, if I'm understanding the telepathy correctly, they're kind of asking me, we need some suggestions here. Suggestions. So what it is they artificially create an island, an entire island, complete with tropical beaches, its own ecosystem in there, and there's a mountain on the center of the island and things like that. And so the name I got for this island was called Avalon, or like Mystic Avalon, and where it was situated at the time. And they move around in our oceans. And where it was situated at the time was in the South Pacific. And then they moved it back to the UK, off the coast of Ireland. And I guess they moved it off the coast of Ireland because I wanted to know more about what this thing was. And come to find out, to my amazement, I find out about these phantom islands. So there's rumors of phantom islands that appear in our oceans and then disappear. Well, come to find out, that's what these island ships are. And and so the one that I picked out, turns out it was actually had another name. The Portuguese had actually called it High Brazil. So I've never actually seen these places in person. As of yet, I only just saw them like through telepathic visuals. But on this High Brazil or Mystic Avalon, there's like 3 different settlements there for 3 different cultures. So they want to preserve the best of humanity because of what's coming in 2030. And so a certain select few, called the minority, will be able to go live there. It actually comes with its own Disneyland, and it has like blue blossom trees, and it had piano sidewalks, and they actually grow meat on trees.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, totally. Eh? So in their greenhouses, they grow meat in bacteria-free environments, and they grow it on trees. And they also grow seafood too, but the seafood they grow it in the off of underwater trees, kept in these aquariums. And that's what grows the seafood. And so they can grow crab, fish, lobster, and stuff like that, lobster meat. And they also had sweet lemons and sweet limes. So limes that are naturally, citrus fruits that are naturally sweet, like oranges. So you can pick up a lime and then you can peel it just like one of those mandarin oranges, and it has a sweet lime flavor. Like it's not sour anymore.
Oh, wow.
And so they keep their food in containers. So the containers so people own these containers specifically made for them. everything is specifically made for the individual. And to even explain that, but the containers, it's like they have warm, cold settings to keep food in, or refrigerated. So the containers actually have their own little heat
Oh, wow. Look at
elements,
that
and they have their,
technology, huh?
yeah, and they have their refrigerator elements into it. And that's what they use. So they don't package anything there because everything's brought into containers. And so when you bring your containers to the food market, they use a sonic cleaner that instantly cleans it. And then you just fill up your container, and everything in that world is free, and everything in that world is custom made to the individual, from the cars to the houses.
Oh, wow.
And so on. And they don't use cell phones there. You can bring your cell phone there, but it'll be no good. Because they don't use cell
Probably don't
phones
need
there.
them.
Instead, what's that?
They probably don't need them.
Yeah, they don't need them because they have their telepathic headsets.
Oh, okay.
And so the whole island ship itself is alive, like the consciousness. And so it manages everyone. And the focus for everybody there is mental health. So they basically said a person can have everything they want, they could possibly imagine, whether it's a golden castle or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't have the correct mental health, then it ain't gonna work.
That's so true, too. That's so true.
Yeah.
Man, I
So
spent 7 years as a mental health therapist, and I tell
Yeah.
you, it is, and you have to be very cautious because it definitely comes back. You can have that countertransference,
Absolutely.
and it's scary. Someone wants to know
And
how the
so-
bathrooms are.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so that's it. So in Avalon, it's a very relaxed environment, but everybody's supposed to focus on learning and focusing on their mental health, from being clear with themselves to whatever. And so, I can give an example of that. It's like, so whatever a kid is interested in, that's where their learning focus is going to be. And so they taught me a lot about that. And like I say, everything's custom made to the individual. And the clothes and the cards and everything, it's all in bright colors. You can have whatever color you want, as long as it's not gray.
Really? What's with the gray?
Yeah. So because the gray is a very dead color. I guess that's the best way I can think of it. And so the flag that you see on my YouTube chat profile, there's a flag there. It's the green.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
No, not the green. Correction. It's it's the blue on the top, and then it's the purple, and then it's the pink, right, on the bottom. Well, that's the flag of Avalon, High Brazil. I got that completely in a telepathy. So I drew it out, and I thought, hey, this is neat. And then after I drew it out, it added those colors that looked strangely familiar. And so what it is, it's a color combination that means many things. So they use these color combinations. When the color combinations are used correctly, we achieve harmony. And so if we have the right color clothes, and unfortunately, gray doesn't have that, like the other colors do. And unfortunately, as a result of that, interestingly enough, in our culture, in our society, gray seems to be a very popular color. But what does it do? It actually makes people depressed. It actually makes people depressed and anxious, and so on. And that's why, especially during winter months.
Oh, that makes sense. I just have to say, my kiddos, he's in chat. I just wanted him to be a part of all
Okay,
this
yeah.
and everything, the super chat. So he goes by Travis Wood. So Brody, thank you so much. Yeah, these are everyone. I just wanted you to introduce you to Brody. He's so supportive and he's very much a part of this. So
Yeah,
yes,
for some
thank
reason,
you.
my glasses are actually fogging up. So
It's just an emotional.
yeah.
I know. Now I'm
So it's
rubbing
like
off
I'm
ideas.
looking over my glasses, and that's why, because they were. If you saw me looking over my glasses, that's why, because they were actually fogging up again.
I took mine off. I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and so there they have everything's just so different there. They have like how people relate to each other there is so different. And so mental health means getting past belief structures, developing healthy social norms, social constructs compared to what we already have. And so it involves a minority, unfortunately. So out of what's almost 10 billion people on the planet now, we only have a minority now of 582,000 people. And so then on Avalon, there's 3 settlements, one representing the Celtic European, another one representing like the Navajo natives, and then the third one representing like the Thai Asians. Now, what's on the other Star Island ships, I have no idea. I haven't had any visuals with those whatsoever. So I imagine that honor probably goes to someone else. But I do know that the other Star Island ships, so the one I'm familiar with, of course, is High Brazil, Mystic Avalon, and the other one is called Antilia, and then the third one is called Shambhala, very similar to the name of Chang Shambhala. And so I imagine those would probably consist of yet different cultures. Yet again, probably from maybe from Asia, Africa, India, whatever, right? And like I say, they always work in threes. And so I wanted to know if this High Brazil thing was like, meaning, is it real, right? Well, lo and behold, there was a friend of ours who actually did a remote viewing on it. And I'm sure you know this person very well. Her name was Jessica Jones.
I was gonna say Jessica J. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cryptid
JJ.
Hunters.
I just thought about her today. I need to book her. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Those were the fun days.
She actually did a remote viewing of this without even me asking her.
Wow.
And she did it. She actually stuff that I had perceived in my vision, she independently got correct.
When she was on the last time, we were going back and forth. It was so crazy, down to a tattoo that I have and like stuff. And I was like, man, this is really, it was really cool. And then something ended up flying behind me while we were on there during the show. And I was like, it was crazy, but she's good. She's definitely good.
Absolutely. In fact, I was actually skeptical of coordinate remote viewing until I met her. Now, the reason why I was skeptical of coordinate remote viewing is because they used to have this guy on Coast to Coast by the name of Ed Dames. Everything that Ed Dames was saying, I knew was completely wrong, completely out of place. I could even feel it before it even, like there's just something seriously wrong there. And I thought, no, I can trust astral remote viewing because this guy I knew, Chris, was able to demonstrate that for me down to the letter by reading out the first names and last names of kids that I went from a class from 30
and that
years
just
ago, right?
answered a big question I had: is can they go into the past and can they go into the future?
Exactly, they can.
They can.
So he taught me some of how to do. Chris taught me how to do a lot of this astral remote viewing. one of the things I wanted to do is to go back in time and check out the time of Jesus. And boy, was that a trip.
Wow. What's your technique? I was always taught if you remember what somebody sounds like and looks like, that you can, that's how I do it. But I haven't figured out how you manipulate the time yet, though.
Yeah. And I can teach you how to do it.
Oh, I'd love that.
If you have the patience to do it.
Oh, Lord. That's something that I'm working on. I have to keep the cool, as I say. Yeah.
But yeah, he taught me the technique on how to. It takes a lot of practice, but eventually you get really good at it. And some people are born with it. Like there was another guy in Vancouver here. His name was Adam McLeod, and he was born with it too, just like Chris was. Unfortunately, Chris kind of abused his ability. He was, like, you know, back then when he was 16, he kind of was a little bit rambunctious. And he, unfortunately, he misused his ability. What he wanted to do, he wanted to go back in time and assassinate Jesus when he was born.
Oh, my God.
So anyway, yeah, exactly. He didn't even tell me he was going to do this, right? And even though it was a remote viewing and you can't alter the timeline you're in, but you can create new timelines.
Yes, you can.
So anyway, he, him and his friend there, who I also knew at the time, they do a meditation. They go back to try and assassinate the birth of Jesus. And what they actually witnessed, you know, and by the way, it wasn't on Christmas Day when he was born. What they actually witnessed was that there's a comet with a long tail, and the UFO actually came out of the comet, like out of the tail of the comet. Yeah, that's right. The UFO came out of the tail of the comet, almost as though the tail was like a portal, and that UFO was Archangel Michael's ship.
Mm-hmm.
No, correction. No, it wasn't Michael. Actually, that's wrong. It was Archangel Gabriel's ship. Turns out Gabriel was the father of of Emmanuel. Well, that was his real name. Father of Jesus, Emmanuel, etc. And by the way, he had a twin.
Oh, really?
Emmanuel had a twin, and his name eventually became. He was named Jacob, but he eventually became known as Apollonius. That was also found recorded in the by the Gnostics.
So do you go with the four? What is it? Gabriel, Michael, was it?
Yeah, there was I can name them. So there's Gabriel, Michael, and then there was Raphael.
Raphael.
That was the third one, and then there was another one. And those beings, yeah.
They like all four, like the compass, right? Northeast.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, let me think. Gabriel. Let's see, Gabriel, Michael.
I say it begins with an A as
Ariel.
Ariel.
Yeah, Ariel. That's the same. And so, yeah, Ariel. That's right. So anyway, they were actually extraterrestrial type beings that actually had a settlement here on Earth, and their settlement was located in Florida, if I remember correctly. So I would also this would also be confirmed by Billy Meyer, okay. And so when Chris went back in time to try and take out Jesus, or Emmanuel, whatever you want to call him, suddenly this beam of light comes out of this UFO, and this tall, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, angry being comes up to him and basically says, from this point on, I won't allow you any more time travel, like astral time travel, remote viewing, etc. And after that, he couldn't do it anymore. So it's almost like this memory. So if you think about it, this memory of this being going back like a little over 2,000 years ago now actually does this to him in our time. Huh.
Wow.
And so every time he tried to time travel remote viewing anywhere, this tall, blonde-haired, angry Nordic being would appear to him in the astral and basically say, "No more." And that basically ended his ability to astral remote view in time. Anyway, he could still astral remote view in the present, just not back in the past anymore or the future. Huh.
Wow.
And or I did get him to remote view me in the future back then. So it was 1993. He did remote view me back in ancient Mesopotamia, Samaria, to confirm what that was all about with Gilgamesh. And then he also went from 1993 up into 2003. And he actually said, "You're going to be living in such and such apartment." And he was correct on that. And he also said, "In a nearby park, I see this massive protest going on. It's a massive peace protest." He didn't quite understand what that was all about. And then when February 2003, rolled around, there was a big, massive peace protest in the park in regards to the U.S. invasion of Iraq, when everybody was protesting that event. And I actually did move into that apartment.
Wow.
So my parents actually, or my mother anyway, and my parents were divorced already, had actually found me the apartment, and it was the exact same one that he had already predicted 10 years before. Huh. But I wouldn't actually move there until the end of 1999. And so I thought that was really interesting.
Wow.
And so there used to be this guy by the name of Gordon Michael Scallion who had these predictions of the coast of California is going to be underwater and stuff like that. And that's why I sent him into the future. Because the rumor was that in 1999 or 1998 or whatever, a big asteroid was going to crash down in the middle of Nevada and the California coast was going to go underwater and everything.
I did
So I
hear
got him
that
to
from
go-
Nostradamus and everything too, the predictions, definitely.
Yeah, so you remember that? Just like I'm gonna
Yes.
plug my- Yeah,
Just grab it.
his name was Gordon Michael Scallion, right? So he was one of those guys on Coast to Coast. A second, I'm gonna have to
I'm here. I'm
plug
just grabbing
my
a tissue.
computer.
Yeah.
You have to plug my charger in here so we can continue. There we go. See the coast going underwater or anything like that. But he did go 10 years more into the future, which was around which was around 2013, interestingly enough. And the idea was to see if he could pinpoint what happens in the year 2012. And anyway, he sees that in the year 2012, he sees that Vancouver and the coast and everything is still there, but there's no people alive. Nothing is alive. Everything is desolate. The trees are gone. Well, not gone, but everything is dead, right? And he says, this is what I got for the timeline for whatever's supposed to happen in 2012. Well, interestingly enough, when 2012 rolled around, if I remember correctly, the US had a presidential election. And there was one of the someone who was with Obama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who was running against Obama was a guy by the name of Mitt Romney. And one of the things he actually said was, if he wins the election, he was going to go to war with China. Well, fortunately, Obama won, and that reality didn't happen. So we actually went. So I'm thinking that was probably what the 2012 doom and gloom thing was all about.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So if this Mitt Romney had gotten into power, he would have immediately, the U.S. would have gone to war with
That's
China.
interesting. Right? Yes.
And so it's not that these predictions don't happen. It's just that they change. Well, if I'm wording that right, it's not that they couldn't happen. Correction. But if they can be changed and prevented, then they would. And so when a lot of people say, well, this didn't happen or that didn't happen, well, yeah, because it's almost like something is always interfering, changing the timeline. And I could name a few instances. There have been a few instances in our history where we've escaped, as a human race, we have escaped our own doomsday. From 1962, 1983, 1979, 1985, I think it was, we escaped one. And so when I was getting these thought impressions about Avalon, there also was a future danger that a World War III could have started in the year 2015 and 2016. And when those 2 years rolled around, that's when we had the whole ISIS crisis in the country of Syria, and how all these different countries were all of a sudden getting themselves involved in that incident, right, with Russia and UK, Britain, you name it. And then so because it looked like if everything had gone for the worst, the ISIS dudes would have actually ransacked Europe and so forth. But the Russians prevented that from happening. And that's why the so-called deep state has so much anger towards Russia. But we got through that, so we didn't have to suddenly randomly evacuate to Avalon or any of the Star Island ships in 2015 and 2016. But the final date, the final last one, would be around 2029 and 2030.
Okay.
Now, what we have to be careful of in that time, this is kind of how I understand it, is that so the global overpopulation is actually going to reach a whopping 10 billion people, I kid you not, by the year 2029, going into 2030. Now, if that happens, we could actually, there's something that's actually called a critical mass distraction. And what psychics and remote viewers and people are now seeing is that the whole world could go into a global dimming, like a deep freeze, just like what Art Bell was talking about, called the coming global superstorm. And so that's when we actually go through like a mini ice age effect as a result of global dimming from to so much CO2 and other gases, etc., within the atmosphere. So it's a climate collapse is what it is. So it's not an atmospheric collapse. So an atmospheric collapse is if there's so much CO2 in the atmosphere and then you run out of oxygen, and then nothing moves through that. But in this case, it would be a climate collapse. And so anyway, that which may actually also be the result of that now that this AI situation is advancing, like they already have working robots, just like just like you see from out of Star Wars, being developed primarily in China, along with the quantum computer there. A quantum AI computer which has the capability of outthinking everybody.
Yeah.
Outthinking everybody to the very point that with the intention of assimilating and eradicating all life on Earth, because the AI would consider us to be like a cancer. And so
Yeah. Oh gosh, I know.
Yeah, and so this AI also has this means of, or it's also begun to release all this smart dust into the environment. So just like the Borg on Star Trek, to assimilate humans, to assimilate birds, insects, everything with this smart dust, all the animals, all the fauna, flora. Well, I don't know if it would assimilate trees or not, but or plants, but definitely all the fauna. So like from deers to cows to birds to fish to insects, you name it, right? And so if this means if the AI eventually decides the end of humanity as we know it, then my understanding is that the Sasquatches and the benefactors, etc., at that point, if it reaches that point, it just may blank out all of China. Yeah. So it may actually, it may blank out China, or not just blank out, but like a complete blackout. So that there's another extraterrestrial group, there's a guy by the name of, I think you had him on your show. His name was, I just let my mind, what was his name? But anyway, he talked about how the ETs he was in contact with was actually going to create like this massive...
Oh, Jeff Silver?
Yeah, Jeff Silver.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's from my part of the world too, right?
Yeah, he is.
And so he kind of explained it too. So that they may actually create this massive solar flare that would actually temporarily bring down the electromagnetic field of the Earth in like a big huge polar shift, etc., which is primarily designed to knock out all electronics, all AI and everything.
Oh, a magnetic pulse.
Yeah, like a big huge massive magnetic pulse across coming from the sun at a very specific time that would knock out all of the AI, everything digital. Everything digital. And it would be so massive, it's like not even Faraday cages would be protection against it. And then the ETs would go on and bring to trial the ones who are responsible.
You have to, if you have a chance, if you ever watch, it's called 3%. I think it's on Netflix. You should watch it. It plays all of it out and how they go to this island that's perfect, like these domes, but they have to. I mean, you definitely like it.
It's very similar to my story.
Yeah, very similar.
Wow. So they actually go like with what I'm getting. There's like 3 island ships. They're all within a geomagnetic. And so in the story that you're talking about, this 3%, were they islands?
Okay, so basically how this started, though, we're kind of tied in, is they took them from this area that was all like kind of slummy or whatever, and they put them through, and they had to fight to go to the island where everything was perfect, but then they ended up hitting them with a magnetic pole. I shouldn't be I should not wreck it.
Oh, that's
but it
okay.
actually won't. There's so much more to it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I find that quite fascinating because there was something else about the island ships too. So back in like I say, back in 2013 when I'm getting this imagery. Also, they also have med beds, but I didn't like there's a whole big med bed craze going on right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, back then I saw the exact same thing, but these things were more sort of like egg-shaped beds with coverings. And they,
Oh, wow.
but I didn't call them med beds. I called them rejuvenation life extension beds. And so they completely rejuvenate your health. They completely can make you younger, and they can completely extend the age. And so then a few years later, Billy Meyer came up with a name for it, and he called them hydrodynamic regeneration, or hydrodynamic rejuvenation beds. There we go. And then about 4 years later, all of a sudden everybody's talking about med beds. Like, oh, where did that come from? So one of the things I mentioned about High Brazil is that every technology that they release there that would be available to the public would have to become available here first. Like, meaning people would have to be familiar with it first in some form or another, even if it's a technology not being used yet.
Where they have to tell us about it.
Yeah, so they don't have to really tell us about it, but for some reason, our technology has to match whatever you find on the island ships. And now that's happening. And there was some other weird stuff too, like I saw 3D printed homes back then. Well, 7 or 8 years later, China came out with it. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I've seen this. Yeah, that was in my Avalon idea, my Avalon Island idea. And so what I mean by everything's custom made to the individual, they have these 3D printers that print out cars, clothing, and houses, etc.
Wow. See, when I went to an area, it was almost like a house of it was like I want to say like a sand. It wasn't as concrete as but it was kind of like a designer world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds very similar, very much the same. And so in our society, people build houses as an investment rather than something that would be suited to
a necessity. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yes. And it's even
But
becoming more cardboard cutout as we go along. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. So people are living in houses that they don't really want to live in, but they do anyway because they see it as a financial investment. But in Avalon, it's different. In Avalon, every house is custom made to you. And so they have all sorts of styles from like absolutely gorgeous, beautiful styles of home from like Victorian houses to medieval, what do they call them? Whimsical. Whimsical fantasy type houses, Disney-like sort of, right?
Sure,
They have a full-size Disney castle there, and then they have a Disney theme park there for everyone to enjoy, and roller coasters. Oh, and I also saw roller coasters coming down the sides of mountains. And then about 3 years later, they started building them in our society.
Oh, wow.
So like they now have something like that in Switzerland. And then there's one that was built in the States, and they finally built one now in my area just in the past year or so. So even though, like I say, even though I haven't never seen this island ship before in physical, it's like the stuff that I was seeing within it, it was all coming to pass within a 10 to 13-year period so far.
Oh, yeah. Oh, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, totally. And
even the LED lighting, when I first saw my first UFO, I said, we didn't have the LEDs lining all the rooms like we did now. There wasn't really a name, like.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah. And then it kind of all comes into play. And I'm like, wow. I mean, how it just, it's like with ET, you want the answers. They're not going to give you direct answers. They give you like a piece, and you have to go on your journey and you have to figure it out. But it always all comes together. It definitely always all comes together.
Yeah, definitely. And like Another thing, they have Christmas lights, what we would consider to be Christmas lights around their houses and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have that all year round. Like, in other words, why confine it just to Christmas time when you can have it all year round at nighttime?
And the way you can light stuff up in the holographic, I mean, is just unbelievable. I mean, to think about it coming 20 years ago, you'd never even be able to wrap your mind around it.
Oh, exactly. And and the clothing they have is like glitter clothing. So they have this so traditional European clothing.
Glitter? I love glitter. That's glitter clothing. I'm all about this.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like so how would I explain? So it's like traditional European clothing with the embroidery that you would see with clothing found in India of gold and glitter and the whole bit. And they also have clothing with holographic patterning.
Ah.
Yeah,
we've yet to see the holographic stuff really come out, and I've seen off planet. I have seen it, and it's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, it's actually a pattern that we have. It's holographic stuff that we have already here. Like, I don't know, if just like when you use holographic paper to wrap up Christmas presents or birthday presents. Well, they have clothing that looks like that too, with those colors. And so they shine different colors in different points of perspective of light.
And wouldn't that solve a lot of the frequency issues that we have on mixing colors and patterns and all that stuff? I feel like
Absolutely.
That would resolve a lot of that.
So there's because they work with color combinations, and they do that with their cards too, and they also do that with their houses.
Yes.
And so everything there is color vibrant, except for gray. So gray is basically the absence of all of that. So gray represents the nameless nothing. Huh. Like
isn't that funny though? How the beings are the gray beings? Like, did you ever see the fluorescent the glow of them at all? Have you ever witnessed that?
I haven't seen that, but it doesn't. I'm kind of thinking that if their skin is gray, that there must be a reason for that. And I'm usually the beings that are gray color like that are usually the biological androids.
The reflective of the light. You remember those old time? It almost looked like when you painted the glow in the dark, but it was that color. And then it was like glowing that green. That's how, when I saw them, that's what it was like. That.
Oh, like a fluorescent green.
Mm-hmm.
Like a glow in the dark green.
Yeah, they were, and I did not know I worded it at that time is that they were reflective of the light,
so
but I didn't know how to put it. Yeah.
If they're placed under a black light.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get those bright colors like that they. Popular back in the 60s and then again in the 90s. It was where they have a black light shining over a fluorescent colored poster and then bring out the colors like they were glowing.
Yeah, there's and do you remember you used to get the paint, and the paint was like that grayish like white color, and that's exactly like
that color when you shine it under the black light.
No. Mm-mm. And what's really crazy is I had no idea. And then Daryl Sims had came on, and I didn't realize like this. And Jay Austin, who does the Thursday shows with me, he's got a picture of it where if you catch it after, where he was like, I guess Daryl said, take a black light if you feel like you've been taken. And for 3 days, the traces of this fluorescent, and I guess there's different colors mean different things, will have transferred on you. And it's something that will, within I said, it's crazy, because I did not know all of that.
I have heard of people doing that with checking their cattle from cattle mutilations. So cattle that had it been mutilated was actually marked with this invisible fluorescent paint on it as well.
Oh wow,
Kind
yeah.
of something
Huh.
else we didn't really touch on. That's when I tried to do a lot of remote viewing in regards to the missing 411.
Oh. I
Like,
had somebody on who was really, really he was really good with remote viewing. You probably be really. I'll have to find his name again. I was gonna have him back on.
are you thinking of Derek? That one?
No, oh gosh,
Because
what is
he was able to do astral remote viewing too, right, Derek?
this guy did?
Uh,
He literally did like on missing people, and he'd have to come back and tell. He's like the families. I just remember when he's on. I just contacted him again to come back on, and his name just slipped right out of my head. I can go back and look, but he was really good. He had all these orbs that were showing up at his doorbell is how this all
well,
started. And he's a remote viewer. But I said, now when I go or I've learned how to travel, you show up as like an orb. People have said it's like a white orb, but that's how you remember what somebody looks. And so I was asking, kind of going into it, I'm like, I'm wondering if these weren't other remote viewers. I mean, if you had
oh,
seen this footage, it was just insane.
well, apparently, if you do project your consciousness, like if I fall asleep and I project my consciousness outward, chances are you're going to see it as a very light, faint mist, like orb mist,
Mm-hmm.
but very light, faint. We don't normally see it in the light, but it's kind of like portals, right? Like you don't really see portals until you come across them, with a few exceptions. Sometimes you can see a portal at nighttime with a very dark green glow.
So that's right there. That
Yeah, but if he was projecting his consciousness through remote viewing, yeah, usually, I guess you could call them an orb, but they're very like a very, very transparent, very light colored white.
That's how we'll show it, but that's how I learned because the people like when I was testing it out and learning, you know who actually Preston Dennett helped me a lot to grasp the concept.
Oh,
He has a
yeah.
whole PDF file on how to do it, and that's how I learned on how to. Because I got halfway out and I was stuck,
Oh, yeah, that
and
was just recently too.
that he
I
had the
jokingly,
PDF.
yeah, that was just recently, about 2 weeks ago or something like that, right?
Oh, a couple years ago is
It
when I got
was
it.
a couple of years ago. Maybe he
Mhm.
released it then. I
Yeah,
tell
no,
people,
he might have like people probably didn't know about. I don't know. He just I asked him or was talking to him about it on the show, and then he sent it to me.
don't remote view your friends while they're in the shower.
Oh,
But
it's it's when you do it, it's not people. It's not like it's a very stripped down, sterile world. You still can see
yeah, it is.
things,
Yeah.
but it's not like you're right here right now. It's very sterile, is all I can tell you.
Well, actually, what I tell friends is that, for example, if I was going to remote view in the shower, I tell friends, but that is the least of my concerns when it comes to remote viewing. Meaning, I'm going to be wanting, if I'm going to be remote viewing, I'm going to try remote viewing lottery tickets, or like lottery numbers, or finding
I never
missing
thought about
people
all
from
this.
the
Yeah.
411 and things like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah. You got some people going checking people out in the shower while other people are looking and searching for missing people.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
So
gosh.
I could see a woman anytime naked if I really wanted to, but it's not.
You got the
Becomes
internet.
after a
I
while,
mean.
after a while, it's like it's not significant. It's not significant like I was back when I was 20, if that makes sense.
Right.
Meaning like back when I was, say, a teenager or early 20s. It's like that sort of thing. It has a different feeling and a different meaning.
Right.
It still does when you're later on in life too, but it's different. It's not a it's not an obsessed necessity anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get you kind of
Yeah,
transition out of that
yeah, you kind of
excitement.
transition out of
Yeah.
that need to, because if I really wanted to be with that person, it's like, how do I even explain it? It's like I could just, I'd be better off just to be with that person and go from there, rather than just trying to remote view them. And I guess it's because I guess I
That's
kind
kind
of
of
think that
creepy when you say it like that. Yeah.
because when I was growing up, I was made to feel afraid of the girl I loved, and so because of that, as I was in high school and that, I couldn't go near her without feeling anxiety of just even being near her. So I couldn't talk to her, couldn't be near her, any of that. And then when I finally went into therapy to overcome that, then the sudden realization of it was, oh my God, I was no better than a stalker.
What was the significance? Did you ever think they were keeping you away for a very specific reason?
It was like I kind of wonder about that, and I think it's because one of them or more than one of them, they didn't, because I have a dyslexic disability. They see me as being in the future as being unfit to marry, unfit to date,
Oh man.
and unfit to have kids, that sort of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I
And that
never
was a
married.
mindset. That really was a mindset back then.
Yeah, it was a
It's
mindset that was
unbelievable.
imposed on me
Mm-hmm.
quite constantly, right? And
Oh,
so
I'm so sorry.
yeah, exactly. So I never managed to marry or any. I never had kids, never married, any of that.
I never married either. That helps.
Yeah,
But they
right.
do find a way of like, and I feel like a lot of it is by design.
Yeah, and I
Brody's
kind of
dad
wonder about
passed
that
away
too.
when he was 18 months old, and it really it made it really tough to kind of trust a lot of that, that somebody's going to be there tomorrow. I think for whatever reason somebody goes through different, it seems like our segment of the population that it really does run in its course. I mean, it's like these things that are so far and few between in other people's worlds we get nailed with them daily,
Yeah, exactly.
so to speak.
And so because I wasn't dating, I couldn't go near it. After I gave up on the girl who I had a crush on, and then I discovered, hey, I have anxiety around the other girls too. So eventually got to the point where I'm just not going to date. And so what did I do to fill in that time? Study UFOs, research UFOs, everything there's to go with that, aliens. So that became my hobby. That replaced dating women. Huh.
Oh wow. Well, see, I didn't encounter, now that I put it together, I think they're kind of
Yeah,
all blend together, but mine was 2017. But from that day, it changed everything about me. Everything.
I totally understand. Yeah, definitely.
I was starting, I mean, I could have cared less. I was off, like, what I was going to wear the next day, to trying to solve Einstein's unified field theory. I mean, it was so uncharacteristic of me, but I love the me now. I did not, that other me was very shallow, not very, there wasn't much depth to her, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And as we get older, we come more to terms with that. Yeah, as we get older, we become more self-aware, more mature, and so the way that our world is now, it really doesn't do any justice, because it's like it's almost like kids are expected to date as soon as they become teenagers.
No, I
But
told my
really, we
kid,
don't.
yeah.
But really, we don't mature unless we're gifted people somehow. But really, we don't mature until many years later. We're
Well, you
healed.
think about it, every segment, I'm like, there's no way before now that I would even be ready for, this, because how much change there is. And the last person I was
Yeah,
with, they were
yeah,
like, you give up this search, this podcast, all of
yeah,
this stuff, or, and I wouldn't. It was the first time I like took a stand for my life. And I was like, you know what? No, I'm not giving up any of this for anybody. Like, this is a part of why I'm here. It's like be like taking my core at that point in time, is really becoming, I mean, it's a journey. You don't start off, I mean, it's like day one, okay, but I mean, it really does. And everybody I've talked to, it really takes their life in a direction that they didn't see, but a much needed one at that.
Well, not only that, here's one for you. The two most known taboo, correction, the two most known taboo things in our society is sex and UFOs.
Yeah, I know. I've had it used against me. I've had this used against me in court of law.
Yeah.
My shows, but they've gotten up and they called me a quote unquote conspiracy theorist. I have been taken against my will over the show and not saying and getting up on the stand and saying that what I was saying wasn't true. And I was like, I won't do that. I will not do that. And I'm like, this is
exactly.
crazy. Is this the United States of America, or is this, and so there's been a little friction there, but I've always fought the system, not just to fight the system, to fight the people for the system. You know what I mean? For the people. Like in
Canada, it's a little bit different. Yeah. So in Canada, it's a little bit different because you can have it as a hobby, just like, because that'd be like somebody doing the same thing just because you're a Star Trek fan or a Star Wars fan.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but they're very adamant like here on it. I'm like, how is this? I could not wrap my mind around it, but I have it all documented. I'm actually going to go down to the courthouse because it's going to the Iowa Supreme Court. So I'm a little bit freer to talk about it. And I'm going to get the transcripts of it and I'm going to show everybody the reality of what this can do. I didn't ever think that somebody would have the ability to take somebody and lock them into over a show. Like how many other shows? I mean, it was insanity. And they watch. Yeah, it's crazy though.
So they tried to convict you because you were into UFOs?
No, they not convict me necessarily. They put me in a locked unit for this twice.
Well, that's what I mean. Like they put you in a psychiatric ward.
Yes,
because that's like getting put in a psychiatric ward for going to church, or that'd be like being put in a psychiatric ward for being a Star Wars fan.
It was all a part of, and a family member was involved, and my son was, you probably didn't see the chat before, was taken. He finally took him across state lines, and I got him back from Arizona. The local police will just hang up the phone. And I'm like, it's not even normal. It's not even like they believe what they're saying, because I said, you can look at my show. You're using my show to say that I'm an unstable individual and that I can't clothe, feed, or dress myself. How do you think I do? Who props me up there when I'm talking to people? And you act like I'm talking to some crackpot down the street. That's not the case. These are very like people who have had genuine, real experiences. But for them, it's because I spoke out and there was a pedophile they tried to hire at the sheriff's department. And I got a petition going. I started unmasked DBQ during the mass. So there's always, push pull or whatever. But this was their way, I think. And they had a family member, and I couldn't believe what they were able to do.
Sounds like they were just trying to pin you on whatever they could find, more so than, say, an actual interest in UFOs. So they're just trying to pin you on.
I don't know what it boils down. If one's a part of the other, but it seems like now in talking, I was even talking to Jeff Selver, and I can't remember who else, but there's been this is not uncommon. People just don't talk about it because they feel like it discredits them. And for me, I'm like, I want other people to know that if you've had this experience or this has happened to you, we need to stand together, because there never should be a day that you can't talk about a UFO and then all of a sudden then they're saying you can't. I'm like, they used it too, because I was a mental health therapist for 7 years. So when they did that, guess who I faced? It shamed me in front of all my old coworkers, in front of, I didn't, I guess it shamed, that's what they wanted to do, I believe. But I mean, I said I embraced it. I really did it. This will be a learning lesson for everybody, and I won't be quiet about it. I had to kind of limit what I was saying, because I was telling people to call my local police department because I know they openly said that they watch and monitor it. And I said, okay, my attorney said, just kind of back down off that ledge a little bit. But it's going to the Iowa Supreme Court, and it's all there. It's all there. They even had a guy going around with a salt shaker that thought I had demon scratches. And they are the ones that called me and told me for our safety. And guess what was used against me? Even though that case number and the police are the ones that reported it to me, it was flipped on me. Like they created this whole like structured environment. And I was like, are you insane? You are the insane people. But if you had seen it, go into court, all the cameras are down. All the cameras. And I said, well, in the one little area of the courthouse. And I said, what about the generators? You have 10 generators out back. And I went and looked and I did, that kind of research. And why can't we go to a different courtroom? Well, I'm like, so we can trust, but I'm getting the copies of all of that, the transcript, because there is no video, because they knew I would take that video and I would release it. And if people saw and heard what somebody who took an oath to protect our Constitution and protect our freedom was doing and saying, they wouldn't believe it. But it is going to come out. Like I said, I just talked to my attorney today about getting all that paperwork so I can release it after this kicks through. It will be an eye-opening experience for everyone.
Makes me kind of wonder what Steven Spielberg must be going through. Huh.
You never. Well, he's got so much money. He's if you have enough money, it's like you can ride above the system. But I always thought, a part of me always felt like I was a little untouchable when it came to this. Yeah. I didn't worry about it. In the beginning, we didn't have it wasn't transcribed, all of the stuff. They told us they didn't care what the civilians had to say, for the love of God, Yeah, really. They just wanted to talk to the military. They didn't care. So I was out talking and telling truth, about everything. And then I remember the first bite back. I'm like, oh boy, everything we just said has been transcribed. And then I hear Stephen Bassett say, oh no, they're really basically done with the military. They want the civilian experiencers now. And I was like, oh, right. Go figure, And I started telling people like, hey, you guys, you need to be careful and cautious. We need to stick together. We need to have a plan here, because the point that disclosure hits, there's actually a play-by-play, hey, how to keep yourself safe. Your local media is going to start to come for you. You're going to da-da-da. I mean, it's all written out. And I was like, and here we are. Everybody thinks they're a one-man band. Not here. Yeah, really. Not here. This is we are, that's what is so important for me. I've always wanted to build and have that team, because we're in this, we're doing this. It's a collective. It's not one person. We all have our different roles, but we're bringing it out together. And that's the only way that you're going to get movement. Anybody out there saying, hey, I'm the one person going to bring that is not the way that this is going to happen. And it's not the way you're going to stay protected, because you're a target then. You're throwing yourself out there with a big target on your back.
As far as the UFO disclosure goes too, now that we're on that, my understanding is that we're now in the final 6 months of it, right? Meaning from April 8th all the way up to October 8th. It's supposed to be this year to 2026. It's supposed to be the final steps into disclosure. So that means that I'm hoping that if that's true, that means that by October, they'll actually have a live news broadcast, a televised broadcast of a UFO landing at an Air Force base.
We need to be cautious, though. Do you want to just a little bit of caution here, because when they bring this forward and all of this comes to play, there's a post-disclosure plan in place where they call a caretaking government, quote unquote. Yeah. Stephen Bassett and I have screenshots of all this. They try and change it on the websites. It's not in a book, so it's easy to do. But there's that's why they're waiting for all this to happen. The post-disclosure, there is a government, people, you check into it. It is insanity. like a caretaking government, because they're going to fracture a portion of the population. They're definitely going to fracture a portion of them.
Well, actually, I've had visions of that in the future. So basically, what happens in this one vision? So a UFO actually lands, like on an airfield, maybe presumably on an airfield, Air Force base somewhere down in California, like that. And so what happens is Trump and other officials they walk out onto the tarmac, like onto the runway. And then these tall Nordic type people, 3 of them, come walking out of the ship. And then Trump goes and shakes hands with them. And then what happens a few days later, I wonder if I should even say this, but Trump
We've said this much. Oh, I said we've said it this much. You might as well go for it. So
Yeah.
then he go, okay.
So Trump has cardio. Something happens to him cardio, like he has a heart attack or something, and he supposedly dies in office. Maybe not immediately, but maybe it'd be a short time after that. I don't know. But he dies in office, and then Vance takes over for a while, and then they have the new presidential election. Well, in the new presidential election, then somebody on the Democrat side takes over. It's not going to be Republicans anymore; it'll be the Democrats. Now, here's the kicker: whoever that individual is, he will actually make a surprise attack to attack and seize Israel for the United States. And so in other words, the U.S. has all these naval ships that go off the coast of Israel. They're saying, "Oh, we're coming as friends," in the whole bit. And as soon as they come onto the shore, they make a surprise seizure. Yeah, seize. They seize the whole country. And Netanyahu and a number of others are put on the guillotines. Now, the only thing I can think of about that vision is it must be like, as I actually tried to explain to a guy by the name of, what's his name? Brian Zing.
Oh,
So
Brian
Zing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brian Zing explains that the whole thing is part of a Khazarian mafia. But I try and kind of explain to them that since about 2021 or 2022 or whatever, there seems to be a split. So and there'll be a continued split. And so when there's a split between the people who are considered to be the Zionists, the techno neocons. So there's a split within that.
See, do you realize this is going full circle? So Brian is friends with Sarah Adams, and do you know? Have you heard of Gabe? He's gonna send me another cease and desist letter over this. Gabe Hoffman. He was tied in with oh gosh, what's his name? Isaac Cappy named him.
Yeah.
As one of the. The reason I needed a new computer was the lovely Zionist over there sent me a cease and desist, and I opened it and my whole computer was gone. This was last week.
So it's
no, but the Zionists are definitely like, they're, what's your take on all? They're definitely in control.
So what I'm actually kind of seeing in this vision, so the techno neocons who are developing the AI and all that, the deep state of MJ12 and that, they want to take the control from the Zionists. That's been their plan all along. But in the meantime, for the past say 50 or 60 years or whatever, they basically pretend to be friends with each other. And so they're basically saying, we can replace your banks with this new digital currency. But what it actually is that they want to replace the digital currency with the money in order to pull the rug out from the Rothschilds. And so when they actually overtake Israel, because somebody in the future, and this is probably like 2 years from now, right? Somebody in the future has this idea of, well, if we take control of Israel, then we can control the whole entire planet and the whole banking community a whole bit. And so anyway, when that happens, then what I also happened shortly following after that
Mm-hmm.
was an American Civil War.
Oh boy, there we go.
Yeah. So the takeover of Israel, the surprise attack by the United States, of all things, it causes a big, massive civil war to happen in the United States. And so that'll probably happen around 2028. And then when that happens, that's when the Russians will move in on Europe.
How
But by
does this
that-
all come out after disclosure? If we're supposed to be, if it's doesn't that it's not playing in line or making much sense, is
Yeah.
it?
Well, what I'm telling you now is still in the probability, meaning there's a chance that it could happen. Or
No,
it may
I think
not
it
happen.
could, but I think that there's beings down here that are not of good nature. There's a spectrum, you know,
exactly.
it's not everybody assumes, oh, they're higher free. No, don't assume any of that. Like definitely there's a spectrum.
Well, there's a group of ETs that are trying to prevent this worldwide breakout, World War III type thing, right? But they and so that's why there's actually a group of from what I've been told anyway. So there's a group of Nordics who are benefactors or whatever. They're trying to bring about the disclosure so that this stuff doesn't happen.
That's where the
So that
9
these-
comes in.
Yeah, so that these conflicts don't happen. That humanity can be given a chance to save itself before worst comes to worst. And so so the time when the UFO lands on that runway, where on that airfield, or maybe it's at an airport, wherever it is, that would be kind of like the pivotal point of whatever's going to happen next. And unfortunately, I see this with Trump. Trump is going to have cardio in the very near future, following after, and which is probably either it's something that's going to occur by itself, or maybe it's induced. I don't know.
Has nothing to do with all that McDonald's, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe it has. Maybe that's got something to do with it, right? Maybe it's of its own doing. And so that's supposed to happen around October, later on this year. And if it happens like that, maybe Trump will take some precautions to prevent that from happening. Meaning that much more.
Because they're supposed to, everybody's talking about an event. I don't know if it's already supposed to have happened, but then Aggie Noss was on the other day and he said, no, it's not, but it will be happening soon. So I'm not exactly sure what people are alluding to. I had the mystery of it all, but
my
I always
understanding is that, yeah.
No, I was going to say, there's just one step further is that I feel like collectively, right? You know, it's just kind of like in computers that we're creating, and they need to put the stuff out here for the creators, for then us to take over. That there's an opportunity that I see, but it would take a collective, like the inversion. So we tell the way it is, and we don't have to automatically buy into the outcome of it, because you start to make memes of it. Like, okay, you know, AI is not this destructor. They're like our whatever, you know, you invert it. So you make it different. So that way the creators that are, you know, I believe that some of us definitely are creating this. Not everybody is, I don't think is here as a creator or as a person, however you want to put it, a non-player, but that we have that ability to start to wrap and, you know, take control of this narrative and change it. And I was like, that would be I really do. I feel like that would be a way we could do that.
And chances are maybe it could. Like, hopefully we can find ourselves out of this without there being any wars or anything like that, right? So like ultimately that would be where we would want to go. Unfortunately, not everybody feels the same way.
No.
Um,
A huge part of this is believing. So you have to
Yeah.
get to the point, where even if it's like I said, the Martha Stewart smile, like sometimes you don't feel like smiling. I'd sit there sometimes and eventually I would be smiling, and I'm like, God, this probably just looks so, but you can't but help, but to smile. And it becomes authentic and genuine. It might not start off that way. But then you go back, that reset is the point of laughter, and that's where everything should be created from. It's really interesting when you start to get down into some of the ways, because what we're doing now, and it's just like AI too. It's like so many know, and then it's known, and it becomes that singularity. It collapses, and I do believe that with humanity, it's kind of that same way. Look at how far we've come, and what is just all of a sudden known on a collective frequency range or whatever, and that's where the 9 will come in. I think, like, if it's the 9, I don't know, that's a whole nother topic with me, but it's very, some of the similarities are very eerie.
we could call them the benign 9.
Yeah, if we have a chance, they're the ones in it. And the ET, according to Mary Rodwell, the ET children they've not stepped on the playing field, but their abilities, no problem, no concern.
Yeah, but I've also found out some weird stuff about these gray aliens too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I came across some of these gray aliens. I guess they were the ones that were with the benefactors back when I was like in 12th grade. And like before, I was really curious about these things, but I was actually afraid of it too, because back when I was a kid, there was a TV show about documentary called Overlords of the UFO, and basically about how the little gray guys with the big black eyes like to abduct people from their beds at night. And so when you're living out on a farm, you kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It's not the type of thing you want to be watching on your TV from 12 to 3 in the morning. But anyway, these aliens or whatever, I guess, or maybe it was from a dream or whatever, they actually came right through the wall. But they didn't abduct me or anything like that. They just kind of sat beside me on the bed and decided to have a conversation with me, basically saying, we don't want you to be afraid of us. So we thought we'd come and have a talk or a chat. And so that's what I did. So I ended up asking them questions like, what's school like on your planet? Or something like that. And then they said, we don't have school on our planet because we just upload directly into our...
That's a part of that whole Slinky system. It's like recording. Yeah,
they just upload it directly into them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when they proceeded to tell me that they were actually biological, artificial intelligent robots.
They would have to be. To a certain point. What I found very strange about them is they were the only ones where I was restrained. And I remember asking, however, but it was very even odder, is that I could see myself, like I had split or something. I could see myself, but from the view I was at, I could see them. And I just remember looking into those eyes and I mean, that is a whole nother like wowza on its own. But they said, I asked why am I being restrained? And they said due to contamination, but whether it was us that would contaminate them or them contaminating us, I don't know. I'm assuming it was the fear of us contaminating them, but.
Okay, they didn't paralyze me or anything like that. They just sat next to me on the bed and we had a conversation. I guess
you were in your space and I was in their space, their time.
Yeah.
But they were in yours, right? I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to maybe, it's a speculation, but just trying to find the patterns, I guess, in there.
But yeah, I've heard various other people have said very similar to you. Now the other weird thing is that some of these women who have continued contact with the Greys, like they're taking on ships maybe once a week or twice a week or something like that. For some reason, when I come near them, they absolutely don't like me. So some of these, and I don't know what that's all about. Like, for example, I met Whitley Strieber once. And, usually it's with these women who are having these abductions, right? But sometimes men too. So I met Whitley Strieber once at a conference, walked up to him to say hi and shake his hand. And all of a sudden, without warning, he just had an outburst of anger of, get the F away from me now.
Yo, you say you pose a threat to them. You must be able to see something. Just that they came to you the way that they did. That's interesting all on its own. That you were not restrained or contained. Yeah.
Yeah, and but it's just weird. Like, and so when Whitley Strieber had this big outburst, and it was, people were lined up behind me to sign his book. All of a sudden, people are like, "What the hell?" And even his wife, Whitley Strieber's wife at the time, he was like, "What was all that about, Whitley? That's not like you to just suddenly burst out in anger towards somebody who's just coming up to shake your hand." And I wasn't expecting it because I've read some of his books back when I was younger. But anyway, I did see it happen with some other women too. Not very often, but every so often I'll come across a woman who's had these abduction experience, and if I get too close to them, they'll have an outburst of anger.
Oh, wow. The programming short-circuiting.
Yeah, and it's like kind of a mystery to me because it's like I'm not looking for trouble, right? It wasn't like I'm not looking for a confrontation. And what's also kind of interesting about this is somebody in particular who I had friended on Facebook, Dolly Saffron.
Oh, yeah.
So I friended her on Facebook, and I get this feeling or telepathy saying, be careful with this one. But that's about all I got in that. And I thought, well, as long as I'm friendly and everything, and I even supported her and all that. And so they had this show on every Monday called The Light Gate.
Oh yeah, I've been on there.
Yeah, and so and then about a year later, Preston Dennett and Dolly had they both have a birthday, I think, on the same day.
You know what? Okay, so this is so weird. Preston's is May 6th, mine's May 7th, and Dolly's is May 8th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we all go, and that's how I remember.
Well, Preston is a complete opposite. Like, Preston is like the most loving person in the world, right?
They've kind of switched. I don't think people realize they were in a relationship before. I mean, I've known for quite some time, but I think it was more on the DL. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I knew that they were in relationships. And so anyway, so I wished Preston Dennett a happy birthday. And then I wished her a happy birthday about a day or so later, just as you mentioned. And all of a sudden, she completely deleted me and blocked me on Facebook. No explanation, nothing.
I could tell you what I have an explanation on, but when somebody's story has changed and there becomes a whole elaborate extension on there, I'm going to feel as though something might be off.
Yeah, exactly. And I actually noticed that with Dolly afterwards. Yeah, her story had kind of changed a bit.
Yeah.
And I can say specifically because she used to emphasize that the being said, time travel doesn't exist. Well, anyway, about 5 or 6 months later, she started saying about how she kind of time traveled back into her own past or something like that. And there was a painting. You know that story?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I cringe. I cringe.
Yeah, exactly.
I cringe.
Dolly contradicted her own emphasized statement on what was that you were saying about time travel doesn't exist?
Oh yeah, there's more. There's so much more when you start following it very closely, and I'm like, this is the problem in this community that everybody needs. You don't have to make up additional details. Your story is profound. It is good enough. Like, we're not going to get to the details and to the heart of this if you're going to trail us off into Never Never Land, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And like like even what I have to say about the Star Island ships, it's like I've not seen them yet. This is just what I've been told, not just by telepathy, but by someone else too. But and it's like, until I see those things in person, then for now it's going to be just an idea.
Yes. It's a good way of
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah,
Because
that's
to believe it is to bring it into existence. And that's where we're going to get the wonky timelines, and we're going to get all sorts of negative feedback because it's not happening in an organic way at all.
yeah, exactly. And for all I know, it may never happen.
Right.
Because I've seen probable futures change.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly, because, I say the only thing you can trust is the right here, right now. And the future, and what is shown is the time. You can change that. You can affect that, but the right here, right now. I mean, and so people say, like, their predictions. I'm like, that could have been the timeline that we were genuinely going down. We needed to, send those ripples off into the water to change it. Not that the outcome was going to be, I mean, that's a roll of the dice. You don't know. Like, just a minute later, a minute sooner, everything's going to be different.
I kind of experienced a little bit of something like that with Dave Scott, right? Because so as something a little bit more personal. So the girl that I used to like back when I was a kid, she ends up marrying and having kids herself and that. Well, guess where she moves to? She moves to Dave Scott's town.
Have you checked into there might be a reason that they have kept you away from her? Have you explored that there might be a bigger, profound reason here? That right there, there are no coincidences. That's crazy.
It's totally crazy. And now here's the thing. So on the first year when I was listening to Spaced Out Radio, like with Dave Scott and Tim James.
Oh yeah.
I used to say to them, well, I'm from an alternate timeline, and in my timeline, there was a McDonald's in Dave's town, and there was a Taco Bell.
Oh God! Oh boy, Dave probably
Wendy's,
lit right up.
Yeah. So I used to kind of tease him about that. Well, anyway, about a year later, all of a sudden, or maybe not even, actually, it was around last year. All of a sudden, it's like news came out. Well, guess what? They're going to build a McDonald's in his town, followed by a Wendy's and a Taco Bell.
I heard Taco Bell was going up near him.
Yeah,
I think that was one within a couple. Yeah, that's insane. Because Dave's like, anytime he came over here, that Taco Bell, he was, that Taco Bell. He loves Taco Bell.
Oh, absolutely.
That is, wow. See how stuff like that.
So it actually fell into place, and it was like, what was it that I changed the timeline? Well, I finally posted on my Facebook about what really happened between me and this girl back in high school, because something kind of happened that I kind of really regretted, so I finally wanted to resolve it. I posted almost exactly 40 years later. And I did that. And it was almost like right on cue after I did that. That's when these changes are happening in Dave's town.
Wow.
Yeah, so we can alternate time.
I think for people to go that extensively out of their way with one person would make me want to figure out exactly what it was about that person. Like, I always, I didn't think, it's like your own family could be a part of this, but just because they're your family doesn't mean they're not a part of this. Like, I saw the capabilities of what my family was able to do, and I never would have imagined that they could have been a part of it until the last couple of years. And I was like, wow, you think people are, and that's the shocker of it all. It's like, I can't, I am who I am. It doesn't matter if you see me, I'm always who I am. But to live that kind of life and then just, it's like, who were you? Who were you people this entire time? I've never in my life had to digest something like that. I mean, you expect that with a serial killer, but you don't expect it with your family. But just think they're the ones closest to you. They'd be put there to, if they knew you were coming prior to you coming, that would be a good way to contain some of this.
Yeah, exactly. And I also share everything freely, meaning I've never actually written a book. And I'll tell you why, because I'm constantly learning something new every day.
Yeah.
By the time I publish a book, it will be obsolete.
I say the same thing. I've started and it always changes. I said my core story will never change, but my understanding of it continuously changes as I obtain, as you learn more, you talk to more people, it shapes that. Understanding becomes, deeper and more meaningful. But
exactly.
I found I've got like 3 chapter up to chapter 6 or 7 done. And I thought, this is pointless. Everybody, you have to have a book. And I was like, I don't think I have to have one. I'm gonna go without one because mine is just it's not gonna happen. I'm evolving and I'm growing, and if I were to put that down, it's obsolete by 2 months from now. I'm guaranteeing it.
And also
then I'm going back. It's just like, no, go ahead.
And I also share, like, I don't promote anything. I'm like, I might say to someone, oh, if you're looking to do invisibility, then you might want to read this book or that book. I might say that, but I don't promote myself. Like I'm never trying to promote myself being psychic or promoting a book or something like that. But so in that regards, I'm sharing everything freely, and by doing so, I get something way, way better than money. The connections and the friends, and the better understandings that they have to share, and then etc. So it's like the friends is way more important than the money.
Right.
Yeah. And the connections.
That's so true. And then, I figured out, like, it didn't bother me at all. I was that person with one subscribe. I literally was just using YouTube to, like, keep track of these. I was seeing these craft and it was just crazy. So that's why I thought it would be a good way to keep track of it. And then I found out, like, I'd go on Twitter and then no one would talk to me until, so I was like, oh, is that how you have to get subscribers, okay, for them to even take you seriously? So that's put this whole thing in motion. I never, ever thought, but nobody would talk to me or answer my stinking questions. That's why it's so important that I give that tool to somebody else. It's like, I try and bridge that gap for people.
Well, because I've been exactly there. Like you feel like nobody's listening to you and any of that. You feel like
they aren't. They aren't. Not with one subscriber. They don't. I do. Yeah. I would never think that. But that's exactly the mindset of so many. It's like I couldn't get an answer, and then it's crazy now to see who will. And I'm like, you remember when I had one subscriber? I've been trying to reach you for how long? It's like, I don't think I want to play that way anymore. Like, if somebody wasn't, like, you weren't taking it seriously, then I'm not going to trust you that you're in this for the right reasons. If just because somebody's subscriber and they're, like, literally legitimately, because in the beginning you have a sense of urgency that's like you have to learn how to contain. I mean, I can always tell somebody who's just entered into that. They have that, I've got this information, I got to do, it's like they have that sense of urgency in the beginning, and finally that starts to let up a little bit, thank God, because that's
right on. So what you're doing? So what you're doing? Is it a podcast or a broadcast?
Oh, see, now when I was with Dave Scott, you can't say podcast; it was a broadcast. But exactly. This is it. That's so I always call it a broadcast. But I started off on Helix Rock Radio, so that's where the SNX radio came about. Then I pulled it, and I thought, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna take this. I don't ever want to be censored. I don't ever want anybody to tell me the direction I have to go. I'm going to try and do this independently as much as I can. And it's worked out that way because then it's not censored. And I leave it open. I don't tell anybody how to think. I don't tell them. I tell them, hey, if there's facts in this, look this way, look that way. I look at all avenues, but my subjective understanding of something is not going to be yours or anybody else's. But everybody should have the right to that information, and they should have the, the ability to make their own choices. And depending on what, you can always tell too, what level they are in this. Like, I was going around like as a star seed in the beginning. That was the only word I could find. It was like, that made sense. And it's like, now I have a different perspective. So I can put people on a timeline just by talking to them really for a few minutes, like on where they're at in this. But I've spent most of my research studies have been in similarities that we all have, like, in characteristics that we share and what they're looking for and why they're looking for us. And, just different things, why we've been markered by the government, why we've been markered, with things. But yeah, that's this whole journey. When my ET, I asked what this was all about, and they said that I was here for communication. That's about if you want an in-depth answer from ET, that's the kind of answer you're going to get. And I just went around everywhere, and I was telling everybody, my friends would be like, do you have to say it? I was like, yeah, because I thought if I found out whatever I was supposed to communicate, that I'd go back to normal, life would go back to normal. As you always grieve the life, and the person you once were. It doesn't matter how much you like yourself better. There's that grieving process. So I was literally thought that I could somehow just tell or communicate, but then it made sense. Because if you had told me that I would be on a broadcast podcast, whatever you want to call this, and talk, I would have thought you were crazy like 5 years ago. I thought that is insane. No way. But
Well, so
and I
you're
was
a
a mental
UFO.
health therapist coming out with it
Yeah.
too. You want to talk about my whole city, and all the crazy UFO lady. And, I was one of the best top therapists in this area. And just something like that, it was enough to shit. I'm like, so one day, I'm one of the best Daniel Hughes dyadic developmental psychotherapists that in town. And then the next day, I'm like the crazy UFO lady that you're ready. They wanted me to take off the agency that I was at because I went off against the mask. I was like, no, Matt, I'm not doing this. It's not good for our kids. They're not going to suffocate them because I'm an adult. And that was just, I didn't care what anybody else did, but the kids, leave the kids alone is where I drew the line.
Yeah, really.
And yeah, so they wanted me to take it off of LinkedIn, the agency, Yvette, she's probably watching and listening. Yeah. And I was like, I'm not touching are you kidding? I've been here I'm doing this for how many years? And because of that, now I didn't ever exist. I'm sorry, but you can't wipe me off the planet. They came after my mental health therapist license. I had to put that in exempt status. And they didn't stop.
Wow. So they're really trying to find. That's how they work, right? So they really try and look for a fault, whatever fault you have in you. They're trying to exploit that. But also notice they, especially as a Canadian observing the Americans, I find that the American elites in particular. They don't just look for faults in people, but they also look for how can, quote unquote, how can I make best of the worst situation? So they always try to exploit the worst of the
They never let a
situation.
good crisis go to waste. Never.
Yeah, exactly.
And we just, there's two groups of trolls that were going, I mean, these are some serious, the way the attacks, David Wilcock was one of their targets. I'm sure you've probably seen some of the stuff that I've done there. And let me tell you how coordinated they are and we just thought, these are probably just a bunch of kids in a basement somewhere, but no, these are well coordinated. And they take a sliver, they'll look for something. They know the truth. They'll sit there and they badger you behind the scenes. Like you would not believe all the hate mail and oh my God, I get it on a daily basis. But we finally found their names. We released their names and we are in the process of getting them shut down. They're trying to do the same in return, but I don't think they'll be successful this time. It's about standing up and doing what's right and going against that. They try and scare you and bring that down so you won't go out and you won't try. You'll just let them trample. I said, I can't just sit there and be quiet. And if we see this happening to another one of our people, You need to see something, say something, do something. There's no more sitting around as the silent majority. It doesn't work out well for anybody. You're letting other people, I mean, literally, it happened in my own community. Like, I went from being the front runner, which I felt like they put me out there. I was the only one that wasn't afraid to speak. But when the time came, we knew there would be repercussions for it. We knew there would be, we all sat and talked about what they could possibly do for repercussions. But when they came after me, guess who the first people were to turn and run and jump right on board with whatever it is, whatever they were trying to sell at that moment, were those very same people. And I thought, man, you sink or swim, you're out to save yourselves. Like, it was a very eye-opening experience, because I didn't think
that's interesting.
that those people would ever, I thought they were, we were like blood. We were tight. We had plan, we a whole 9 yards. But as soon as they took it and they started their smear campaign on me, it was like no longer friends. Like, I mean, it was like they didn't hear anything or remember any conversations we had prior to that. And I said, "Are you kidding me? Like, are you people?" So I then split. I said, "I'm the breakaway from this. I don't care if I'm the lone wolf. I don't, you call me whatever, the outsider. I ran for city council. Oh my God, you would have thought that you would have thought, I mean, it was insane, the threat that I posed to them. And I thought, have at it. I didn't go to win. I went, my strategy was they would not report on our side of things. And if I didn't run for city council, we would have never had our voices heard. But I knew they would have to, the media would have to report and take that if I did that. So I was willing to sacrifice myself just to get that out there. And so they would print it. And we all knew, like, I was the only one that followed through on it. Like, my kiddo went in, they tried to lock the school down. He was the only kid that went in there without a mask on. And you want to talk about dropping your kid off, it's like, oh my God, here we go. But that perpetuated where then, was it like a year and a half later? Then I was crazy for doing that. And it justified to the police how a family member was able to obtain my child. And then they thank God they did. They took him across to the Arizona border to my sister's, and that's when the FBI was able to grab him. They took his cell phone away. The stuff that they were feeding him about me was unbelievable, and none of it was true. And none of them, his father was deceased at the age of 18 months. I'm the only parent that has ever had custodial, any custody of my child is solely me. And that didn't even matter. When all of that stuff happened after the COVID in 2020, the laws changed. All of a sudden I said, I'm a mental health therapist. I said, he's not able to decide anything at this age. Well, no, yeah, at the age of 50, I was like, give me a break. No way. And I was and it was every single time. I mean, it was unbelievable, but I would not stop when it came to my child. It would not stop. And now, I mean, and it was just like, it was probably one of the most devastating, heartbreaking things. And it was a repercussion. And that's the price of freedom. Wow. And nobody will help. Like, nobody locally will help because they're so afraid. Oh my gosh, all those belongings that you can't take with you, you're so concerned about. My God, I feel really bad for you.
Well, believe it or not, for the whole time that the pandemic was going on, I never wore a mask. I
never did either. Never once.
What I did do, what's that?
Never once would I do that. I took my stand, but I honestly, like, my whole point, I felt like I think I was like in a previous life held captive or something. I put that on and I felt like I was smothered.
Well, what I did instead of wearing masks is I wore a face shield. And nobody complained. And
I didn't even do that. I had people threatening to, like, assault me, to mace me. They were sending my car, took a ice pick out the windows. I mean, stuff you would not believe it. I was in a doctor's office. A lady's like, was threatening to mace me, and nobody would help. And I was like, so I said, this is crazy. That in a doctor's office, two people, I was like, you two cowards are back there behind your shield of glass. You're not going to help here. And everybody acted like they couldn't hear what this lady was saying. She's reaching in her purse. And I was like, all right, lady, this is a point of assault here. And I'm telling you that it's not going to go well for you because I'm going to defend myself here in about 2 seconds if you don't back off. And I mean, she went back there and you would have heard it. I did nothing but sit there and wait for my doctor. And she came in there and I was the huge problem. Oh, you could hear it all the way down the hall, all the way like wherever. By the time I got into my doctor, she's like, what's going on? Like it was my, like mad at me. And I was like, what's going on? Are you for real? And I told her, and thank God she was like the first light that shined, but she's like, you know what? Not only this, she's like, I'm writing it down in your medical that you can, so she protected me from that point forward. And I was like, thank God. Cause there was no one. And I'm telling you the anger, there's still people, if you say my name out there, they're ready with their pitchforks and their torches and like, because I called them out. Like there was a guy in there, he's like, all of this tragedy. And I was like, you know what? Then show us one newspaper article. Just one newspaper article. I was told that they were put there to combat what I was so we'd be quiet. They've made it so uncomfortable and people are sitting there. I was like, you guys can't fall into this. You cannot let other people silence you like this. This is a matter of your life. It's not, listen, as I said, I don't tolerate when it's disrespectful and our guests can't speak, but you're fighting for your very existence right now in a world that was one way. We are changing. And whether or not you see that or not, we're not leaving our houses the same way we went in. We are not leaving our houses the same way we went in. Sure enough.
Well, so that's something. So when the pandemic was happening, did you wear a face shield? Just curious.
No. No, I was leading. I was out there with signs. We had freedom cruises. I organized unmasked DV grassroots. We had over 600 signatures in the heart of it. I also went out and I had to get on the ballot, you have to have, I believe I had to get 70 signatures. I had to go around knocking on and people, but I had you would not have believed the mound of pens because people, and I started to see how bad the isolation was with people. I mean, they would come to their doors and it was just like, and I was like, hey, I'm just,
Yeah.
I mean, it was really sad.
Yeah. Looks like we lost you for a minute there. Just a sec.
Oh, can you see me now?
Okay, I can hear you now. So
yeah.
So when the pandemic happened, actually, the face shield net was the least of our problems. See, what happened was in Canada, they asked everyone to wear a mask. The truth of the matter is that the masks that they were asking people to wear were pretty much ineffective anyway.
Yeah.
Because the real masks that were actually supposed to be used in the time of the pandemic, Canada didn't even have any of that.
I know.
It's like
we have a sister city in China. In February, we sent all of them through. I was like, and China set up, and we had isolation shelters here. Well, I somehow got into the county attorney's emails, and it stated that they could take groups of people. They just could not put a stay in order in place, but they would not tell us the location of this isolation shelter. And you can look on Facebook. You'll see it all there where we finally found that place. We put it out there, the address out there. We found in the laws where they said it wasn't supposed to be a charge, that they had a misdemeanor, and the county attorney, we don't know how that was written in there. I was at every board of health. I was at every city council. I was at everything, standing there and fighting for our freedom to choose, just to have that right to choose. Because once that's taken away and then people were able, you had the lady at the dollar store, all of a sudden she's giving, medical advice. I was like, no, that's not happening here. That's not happening. And I remember calling my doctor and he's like, oh, I think that's a little extreme, don't you? Because I instantly got my son a religious exemption from any vaccines, nothing further. And exemption from the mask and he's like, my doctor's like, I said, before the CDC comes in here and regulates this, he's like, I don't think you're really blown. I said, I don't care what you think I'm doing. I want you to write this down. And whether I'm right or wrong, at least I have it and I'll feel better and I'll sleep at night. And sure enough.
Well, the vaccine was even a worse thing. like especially in Canada here, like they actually, as a result of the vags, they actually, hundreds of doctors and nurses and that just kind of up and left.
The good people, that's when the transition happened. That's when the
Yeah.
transition happened with our local police department. They went from the good people that were there, they got out. They left. They knew what they were enforcing was no longer, an oath that they had taken. And that's when they pulled, that's when the real transition happened. I said, we were in the fourth industrial revolution. They needed to get us at home. That's why you saw those census people here in America. You saw census people. It didn't matter. I'm like,
Well,
how is it everybody's shut down, but we got census people out? Like, I mean, they were desperate to find out information. It was insane. And I was like, this is a manufactured, we are going into the fourth industrial revolution. Technology is now coding us. And we even saw a firefighter. He needed, like, with his Bluetooth and his phone, he needed help, like, hooking up. I worked at the pool. I went and I lifeguarded at the pool because you couldn't wear them there. And I went and I worked and hiked zip lines and was a zip line guide trainer. Left my career behind in the dust to say, you walk the talk. I didn't just talk it. I literally walked it. And we have sacrificed every step of the way, but this is a part of what freedom comes with. If you're really doing out there, doing good work and doing good things, you're going to be met with adversity. You're going to be met with these things. You better be ready at those moments and times, because everybody else, they ran scared, like, oh, that job. And I said, oh, all that material items that you cannot take with you are more precious than your child, than your future, than, it's just at that point, that's where we lost everybody.
yeah, really.
And then it puts a target on your back. I went from being surrounded by hundreds of people to just, it was just all of a sudden just me. And it's just like everybody else had scurried. Like, it was unbelievable.
Well, interestingly enough, before the pandemic hit, I was actually got a telepathy that, so this is like in the summer of 2019. So the telepathy was that, so the benefactors offered me, they offered me a deal. Well, if that's my correct words. So
ColeyUFO on SNX radio. Whole room lean when the signal go. My starfire got that spark on glow. 2 names hit and the code it fold. ColeyUFO, don't leave me low. My starfire, let the whole thing roll. Hands in the sky, let the rumor show. One more second, then we all go. ColeyUFO, beam me up. small world.